This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
The fucking sun sucks. I don't know what you people see in the sun. I don't know how you people do the sun. It's just the dirt worst. I want nothing to do with it. I'd be content never going out in the sun again.
And Rich Crage.
This is the dumbest show. I cannot believe it. These people some people pay us $10 to listen to the show live. This is what we give them for 45 minutes.
Been doing this for 10 years. Why?
We're bigger than ever. More people listen to us than ever. Why?
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening?
How you doing?
Doing well. Taking in some corn game on my secondary TV over here. So
I did a clap there. How you doing?
I did have a little clap. Yeah, a little clap. Doing good. You must be fired up. You do the clap when you're fired up.
I mean, yeah, it should be a big time show. Hold on, just as we get started. All right, come here. Come on.
All right, running. Early running. All right.
All right. Good night. All right, good night. Well,
it's 7:45. Good night. Jeez.
Well, they got to get ready for school next week.
Oh, uh-oh.
Well, see, the girl came in and said good night while you and I were bantering. So the boy felt left out. So
I see. So getting ahead of the game. I guess they don't necessarily have to go to bed right now. They're telling you that because when you're done with this dumb show, they will hopefully be in bed, right?
Yeah, they don't see me the rest of the night no matter what. But they just had their baths and now they're getting ready for bed. We got to get them prepared. I mean, it's not the unruliness, the anarchy of summer anymore.
right.
They're staying up all hours. Their little Fire Stick remotes are taken away in their room, and they got to get to sleep because we can't have them, being tired in the morning next week because that's going to be an utter disaster.
Is this is the boy? Is this his first run at school, or is he
He's going to kindergarten?
Damn, no preschool. Did he do preschool at all, or this is it? This is the beginning.
Nah. Listen, I would never torture these children with an extra year of school. It's not a chance. Okay, school stinks, and they shouldn't have. It's bad enough they got to go 13 years.
The girl's smart though, right?
Oh my God, she loves it. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with her.
Well, thankfully, she'll do better than you. She won't be doing a dopey dumb podcast when she's an adult. So,
2 or 3 weeks into summer, she's like complaining that she's not in school. And when do I get to go back to school?
You should. That's good. You need that. The boy, not so much.
He don't know yet.
The way you've described him, I don't anticipate. I don't anticipate him hitting the ground running for school. So,
you know what he asked me the other day? A very touching moment between myself and the boy. I brought him to. We went on our final trip of the summer to Buffalo Wild Wings. Our weekly trip to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Have you tried the Mountain Dew Legend yet? I have not made it there for the Mountain Dew Legend. A lot of people tell me I need to do it for the rich drinks, the Mountain Dew, the Buffalo Wild Wings exclusive Mountain Dew that I have yet to have. So,
I see it on a little table tent. That's what they call it in the industry, Rich. A table tent.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I see it on the little table tent, but no, I have not ordered.
Oh, you have not gotten the Mountain Dew Legend or the Mountain Dew Legend Long Island, which would not be good for you as a man who does not drink.
No, they advertise that pretty hard too in the store. So the boy asked me, he goes, Daddy? I said, yeah. He goes, you promise when you pick me up from school, we'll listen to Mad Dog Unleashed?
Oh my God, what have you created?
And I was like, absolutely, because that was our routine when the girl was in school. You
got this kid listening to Mad Dog Unleashed on Sirius XM.
Yeah, 2:00, I put on the Mad Dog Unleashed, and then he knew.
Oh my God!
And then he knew in about an hour that meant we had to go pick up his sister. So and
he's gonna be waking up at 4 a.m. reading the paper on the can.
Yeah. So he asked
cigarette dangling out of his mouth.
So I promised him I would not start the show until I pick him up.
God, how old is this kid? He's listening to Mad Dog.
He's 5 years old.
5 years old, listening to Mad Dog Unleashed on Sirius XM.
Well, you know
what? I'm glad. We need the next generation needs to be a radio generation, because that industry is something that you and I both cherish and love, and it needs to survive. So I'm glad at least one person in that generation will listen to the radio when they're old.
Yeah, a couple months back, I was watching. I forget what tournament it was on a Thursday afternoon, first round of some dusty PGA tournament, right? And I'm like, so I say, boy, where you want to go out for lunch? Where do you want to go for lunch? And he goes, Buffalo Wild Wings. I said, oh, you want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings? I said, why? He goes, so we can watch the golf.
Oh,
the golf.
This is a monster. You were creating a monster. I don't. There should not be another you ever.
Outstanding stuff.
There should never be another you. God, I hope he grows out of this. There can't be two Joes running around. We can't have two Joe Lanzas on this earth. Yeah. There's not enough room on this earth for two of you. So, good Lord.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'll tell you what.
The golf.
It's great.
Was he ranting about live golf with you too? Telling you about, Does he know? Does he know about that? Yeah, he's not. He just likes watching golf on TV.
Nah, he don't know nothing about that. He just knows that he saw it on TV and he figured that we can go somewhere where we could watch the golf. So now that's Buffalo Wild Wings. He knows. Yeah. Same thing every time. Chicken tenders and fries.
I was gonna ask what his Wild Wings order. We're talking plain tenders here. Or is he putting some sauce on there? Is he getting a little spicy?
Plain tenders. He's very simple. He's a simple man.
That's fine.
I guess the plain tenders with the fries and sometimes I let him go crazy and get a Sprite.
Ooh.
So yeah. Don't tell his mother, but
give him the Mountain Dew legend.
Right?
Give him the Mountain Dew legend. Let's get his review.
He would love to
get boy drinks. Let's try to see what he thinks of the Mountain Dew legend.
Yeah. But had a little mishap the other day, Rich. I had a little mishap.
Okay.
You may recall that many years ago on the Flagship, I told the tale of my power going out, and it was like a zombie apocalypse around here because my laptop died, my phone died. I couldn't figure out how to get out of the house because my car was trapped in the garage. And I couldn't find the emergency release to open the garage. So I was just trapped here until the power, it was like the end of the world had come. And that's a classic Flagship story. That's probably long dead on some old podcast host that you don't.
Yeah, I don't recall. Yeah, that was like 2015 or something. I mean, that's a deep cut. That's an old cut for sure. So if I remember correctly, you left the house and walked, but you made it seem like it was some zombie apocalypse thing when you were outside for some reason. I forget why. I forget why it was such a zombie apocalypse. You were just because you're not used to walking outside and talking to people. Is that what it was?
It just put me in a state of panic because you don't realize everything.
Everything is hooked up to power. Everything is hooked up to power and internet, and you don't realize until it goes out that you have nothing to do. That happened not that long ago for me. My power went out, and I was like, "Oh, that's fine. I'll just do." And then everything that I was like, "I'll just do blank." I was just like, "Fine, shit, yeah, right. That's internet. I need the internet to do that." All right, and then I just ended up reading a book, and then I got bored of that because it got dark, and then I just fell asleep at 7 p.m. So yeah, it wasn't great.
There's an odd stillness to the world when the power's out.
Sure,
it's just it's a weird thing. Your house all of a sudden feels
there's just nothing to do. You're like, the fuck is stupid house,
It's a cryptic feeling when the power's. It's just everything changes. It's weird.
There's also the unknown too of how long is this going to be.
Exactly.
You don't know if it's going to be solved in 20 minutes. You're like whatever. But sometimes you can tell this is going to be a long one, and that's worrisome because then you start thinking about what's in the fridge and what you got to take out. It's not good. It's very stressful. So I get it.
Yeah, you don't want to open the fridge because you're afraid you'll let all the coldness out and then your food's gonna rot. It's everything you got to think about everything. It's pretty brutal. So anyway, people may recall that. Well, I had another related mishap the other day.
Okay, was it power related? The Texas power grid didn't hold up again?
No, it didn't have nothing to do with power. But TLB is yelling up the stairs. I got 4 games on. I'm in the middle of gambling and everything else. So she's yelling up.
I'm sure the golf is on, right?
Might have been some. I don't know. Yeah, sure. For the purposes of the story, yes,
the golf
sure.
was on.
So,
right,
yeah. So she yells. She's like, "Joe, I need you." So I come down and she's like, "Don't be mad at me. I know this wasn't smart, but I put a rug in the washing machine, just one rug. Okay. And then so here's how my house is set up. So you open the garage, and from the garage, you come through the door, and it brings you into a little pantry / laundry room. Washer, dryer, food pantry on the right.
Kind of like it's sort of a mud room, I guess, is what some people would call that.
Some people could, yeah. Everyone calls it something different.
But you guys use it as a pantry and a laundry room.
Pantry, but yeah, the washer dryer's in there.
But it's the in between. There's the garage. There's this in between room, and then your main house.
Yes, and then another door that leads into the kitchen, right? And then you're in the house. So I've heard mudroom before. I've heard foyer. I've heard people call it
foyer. Yeah, that's. I wish I'd like to have a foyer in my life.
For the purposes of the story, I'm going to continue to call it the pantry. Just so everyone understands.
But I think most people can visualize that. One of those three: mudroom, foyer. Ooh, it sounds a little classier if it's a foyer, right? Don't you have to kind of you have to hang up art in a foyer, right? You can't just, can't have cans of soup in a foyer. It's got to have nice. And the mudroom, you can kind of do whatever. It's got to have mats for your shoes. It could be whatever, but
have literal mud. Mud.
Right.
So anyway. So what she did was she put one rug in the washing machine, right? That's very light. So when it went on the spin cycle, the washing machine's weight shifted forward. Okay. All right. Are you following me?
I gotcha. Yes. Okay.
So then she heard the washing machine stop, and she went to go into the pantry, but because the weight of the washing machine shifted forward a few inches, when she went to open the door, which opens inward, it was hitting the washing machine and she couldn't get into the room.
Okay.
So
that had to move a lot. Did it have to move a lot, or is it like a pretty tight
It's
window?
A pretty tight.
It's tight right now. It didn't need to move more than a couple inches to cause this problem.
If it moves 2 inches, you can't open the door.
Got it. Maybe a flaw, maybe something to think about for the future, but that's all right.
So, I don't have a palatial estate like you do. So I only have
God, your house is so much bigger than mine. Shut up. Your house. I don't have one floor. It's a ranch house. I don't even have a basement. I certainly don't have a den. Get out of here.
Estate. So we can't get in the room.
I have a detached garage, sir. This would never happen to me because I have a detached garage.
Right. Well, there you go. So I said, all right, well, she's like, so we have to go in through the garage, right? And then just move the washing machine. But here's the problem. The garage is obviously closed. Mm-hmm. Okay. The only automatic garage door opener that we have is in the car that's already in the garage.
Oh, boy.
That's parked in the garage.
You don't have two of these things? You got to have two.
No, well, one of them broke. So we only have one, and that one happened to be in the garage because obviously the car that has it parks in the garage because they have the garage door opener. The other person parks in the driveway and comes in through the front door. So here's the other problem. You might be thinking, Rich, all right, well, garage door openers have the keypad on the outside of the house where you have a code, right?
Well, I wouldn't know. That sounds like palatial estate stuff, so no, I don't have that.
Gated community things. I don't know what to tell you. So, so they have these keypads that, you have a little passcode and it opens up your garage. My keypad doesn't work. So now...
It sounds like a lot of you problems right now, man. You got to get this keypad fixed and get a second one. Get a second one of these things.
This morphs into a very Joe Lanza story in a few moments, my friend. So if you we're not even half the way.
So just things breaking, Joe doesn't fix them. Classic Joe, just like whatever. We're not going to need it. It's never going to be a problem, right? We're kind of throwing these off to the side. Who cares? I don't know how to fix it, so we're just not going to do it. Is what I'm hearing.
We'll never need that to work. Flash forward 2 years. So we can't get in through the kitchen because the door is hitting the washing machine.
Right, and there's no room to reach a hand in to push the washing machine back or anything like that.
We're getting to that.
Okay.
So we can't get in through the garage because the garage door opener is in the garage and the keypad doesn't work. There's no other door or window to the garage, so that's out. So we have to figure out how to get in this fucking room.
And you can't open the garage manually because like mine, the power of right now my garage doesn't have any power in it right now. We have to get the power redone and all that sort of shit. That's happening eventually. I got to dig holes. I got to dig a lot of holes. I got to dig trenches all across my house over the next couple weeks so they can rerun lines to the garage. But I'm able to right now open the garage manually. I just have to pull up on the garage door, or just like kind of slide it up and slide it down, and it'll go up and down. You tried that? Not happening.
The problem with an electric garage door opener is that it doesn't work unless you release an emergency switch inside the garage.
Right. And I was able to obviously get in the garage and pull that. So yes, the emergency thing is stuck.
I obviously can't get to it because I can't get in the garage. And if it was as easy as just pulling it open, everyone would just rob each other's houses. So
yes.
You got to pull that little release. That was remember the original Power Out story? I had to fumble around in my dark garage to find the release, and that's how I finally escaped my house. So anyway, we can't get in the garage, can't get in the other door. All right, we got to figure out a way to push this washing machine back a couple of inches so that we could open this door and solve this problem. Okay. Problem is, we only have about 2 or 3 inches of open door space to work with. All right. We can only fit our arms into that open space to about our elbows, and it doesn't reach the back of the washing machine.
Well, what about one of these little kids? You can't slide a little kid in this door?
You know,
a 5-year-old can't get squeezed into this door well, or no?
It wasn't open enough to squeeze a kid through.
Okay. So was that considered at least?
Well, there was. Yeah, well, I'll get to that.
Okay.
We're jumping too far ahead.
Sorry.
There was a kid element to this that comes into play.
I'm glad.
So
we will talk wrestling eventually. Don't worry.
So we need some kind of stick or device to help push the washing machine. The problem is, every broom and mop and anything like that is in the garage or the pantry.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, it's not like you had access to it. I see what you mean. Yeah, we
don't have anything.
Right.
The places we keep all that stuff are where we can't get to. So this is just a mess, and I can't figure out what to do here in this scenario. Okay, then finally, I pry open the door enough to where I can get past my elbow and push the washing machine a little. Here's the problem. Because I can only get to like the extreme right side of the machine, as I push it, it turns the machine into the door from the front. I don't know if this is making sense. And then it's closing the door even further. Bottom line is, this thing cannot be pushed. Okay? So I think about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. There's a window in the pantry. Go outside, obviously, climb up on the ladder, look.
Yeah, and there you go, because there's somebody in the Noodle chat room said, doesn't a foyer have to have a window? Well, maybe, Joe, you have a foyer then.
Now, it's a tiny, tiny window, but I could slip a kid through there. So,
okay. So just got to open this window a little bit, slide a kid in, and we're off to business here.
Yeah, if I get this window open, I can throw a kid in there, and then hopefully the kid is strong enough to push the washing machine a couple inches so we can get the door open, right? Problem is, the window's locked. So that's a big problem, too. So now I'm thinking, all right, I have to break something. I either have to somehow break this door, and if
break this door down. Break the door down immediately. Yeah, but I didn't offer that suggestion because I can understand a Joe Lanza. That door's never getting replaced. That much like the keypad and the other garage door opener, you're just not having a door between your pantry and your house then, because Joe Lanza ain't putting hinges onto a door frame. I can tell you that.
I'll call a guy. But the problem is
that's an extreme. That's an extreme, by the way. To start axing through a door, that's next level.
I don't have many tools, and any tool I have is in the garage. So that's not even really an option. And the hinges, if anyone's thinking, just remove the hinge pins, the door turns inward, the hinges are on the other side. I can't even get to the hinges. Okay? So it's got to be this window. I got to somehow unlock it, but that's further back than the washing machine. So I finally think of something in the house that's long enough to potentially push the washing machine or get to the window. Otherwise, I got to break the window. And once I said that, TLB said, "You are not putting my child through a broken window."
That's fair.
And I said, what? They could just put shoes on and we'll fucking long sleeves and we'll put them through the window. You know?
I think I would break the door before I'd break the window, but...
So anyway, I finally was walking around the house. She's panicking. You know why she's panicking? Her weed is in the garage.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. She's
starting to get the itches, starting to get anxious.
See, right now I'm just burying her because she gave me a hard time through this whole ordeal. So I finally... I'm looking around the house and find a stick-like device, Rich.
Stick-like device, okay. A Singapore cane? You are a wrestling fan, and there's always Singapore canes nearby. Yeah.
Not a Singapore cane.
Just as I do that, I put my random wrestling thing on. Here comes Just Incredible. He's got a Singapore cane. That's all you needed right there.
So this stick-like device, and the only item I had in the house that was long enough to kind of reach into this room, was a spreader bar. Yes, a fetish sex toy spreader bar.
I don't think I know what that is, but let me...
You know what it is, you dog, you.
Spreader bar. Well, interestingly enough, Chastity is out here with Just Incredible, so that is perfect timing here on this show. Yeah, it's the October 9th, 1998 ECW. Just Incredible, the most handsome man in the world, Jason, and Chastity out. So okay, let's see what a spreader bar is. Yeah, okay. I see what this is. No, get out of here. Like I know what this is.
Well, I mean, it
okay, all right. Well,
it does what it's
called.
Good
for you. Good for you, sir. I can't imagine needing this device, but congratulations to you. And
I needed it to get into this pantry. So it does what it's called, Rich, is the point here.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Seems it's not as salacious as I mean, okay, all right.
So
a few different ways to use it, it looks like.
So I'm like, this is long enough. This is like 3 feet long, and this is perfect, right? So
how tough is this? Now, like, what do we like? What's the steel? Like, what kind of?
It's like steel. It's made of metal. It's got loops on it for padlocks. It's tremendous. So I come trotting downstairs with this thing.
Thank God we don't have advertisers this week.
I come trotting downstairs with this thing with a big smile on my face, like I finally figured this out, and TLB is horrified. She's like covering children's eyes. She's like, I'm like, they don't know. So I tell them it's a curtain rod. Yeah, well, they know. They don't know the difference. Right?
Looking at a picture of it right now, it definitely looks like a curtain rod. Yeah, I would not be. Yeah, I mean, I think most. If you showed me one of these, I don't know if like you just started walking around. Well, I guess not you. If a normal human being just walked around with one of these things, I don't know what I would. I don't think I would think. Well, I mean, I would kind of assume it's something. So you have like one hammer this entire house and probably double the amount of quadruple the amount of sex toys that you do actual toys or tools. So I'm not super surprised by.
So I'm like, look, TLB, if you want this problem solved,
well, some of these are a little bit more salacious than others. Ooh, this one's got like.
I'm like, this is the only thing we have in the house that can get this done. So you're just gonna have to look. So I try pushing the washer with the spreader bar. The problem is it keeps. Again, I can't get enough leverage. It's turning the washer into the door, and then the light bulb goes off over my head. The spreader bar has loops on the end for the padlocks, and it can reach the window. I can unlock the window.
Oh, loop the thing around the lock and lock it back. Yes. Okay, all right, yeah.
I'm feeling like MacGyver.
I was just about to say, you got the inner MacGyver. Were you a MacGyver guy? I loved MacGyver.
It used to come on before Monday Night Football when I was like in the late 80s, yeah. So you'd always see like the last 10 minutes of it. It'd be Alf and then MacGyver and then Monday Night Football. So I take a couple practice runs with the kitchen window, so I see so I'm catching that loop.
Yeah, you get enough leverage. You have enough to. You're lassoing. You're a real Texan over there.
Yeah,
lassoing this lock. Yeah.
So I'm doing practice.
Got TLB all hot, and if she had her weed, she'd be all nice and really like, whoa, wow.
She's like, this is gonna work. I'm like, I know. So I'm looping the locks on the kitchen window, getting a lot of practice in. I'm like, okay, I got my practice runs in. Let's go do this. So I put the spreader bar through the crack in the door. Now the window has blinds in front of it, so I have to push the blinds open with the bar.
Well, see, if you let some fucking sunlight into your house, this wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, so
my house is not going to unlock it. Their blinds are all up and open. I have no problem over here.
You know what though? You wouldn't have a spreader bar, and you'd really be.
That's true. I'd be fucked. That's true. I would certainly not have a spreader bar. Good point. So maybe I should get one. I'll ask the nurse if she can.
Yeah,
pick me up one.
There you go.
On the way home from she's out right now, but I'll tell her on the way home if she can grab one. In case for something like this, you never know.
She might enjoy that sort of thing. So I have to open up get between the blinds with the spreader bar. And the spreader bar gets tangled in the blinds. And now it's stuck in the blinds. By the way, TLB...
I heard a door open.
She just walked in the room.
She's so horrified that you're telling thousands of people this story now.
She just walked in the room, instantly knew the story I was telling, and just covered her mouth and proceeded to walk into the master bathroom here. So anyway, the spreader bar now gets tangled in the blinds, and now not only can I not get into this pantry, I now have a sex toy dangling from my window. So if that's not the most Joe Lanza scenario you've ever heard. Right. And now it's like TLB can't call like her father or her brother to come help because there is a sex toy dangling from the window.
Now do you think that they would know what that is?
I mean...
Am I just so much of a simple prude that I would... Because again, I'm looking at pictures of this. I wouldn't really know what this is exactly if you didn't point it out. But I guess they know tools, and they know that ain't no damn tools. So
they're going to see this very
dangling participle and say, "Hey, Joe, what is this?"
Right,
and then you have to make up something.
Well, when I say that's a curtain rod, they're not going to believe me.
Yeah, these men. So, that's true. They're not like you. They actually know things, and they know tools, and they know what household things look like. So that's true. Yeah, you can't say that's a curtain rod. They would say, "I ain't never seen a curtain rod that looks like that. Get the fuck out of here."
And here's the other thing, like. They might just know what it is. Like, I'm not the only person who has sex, Rich.
Yes, so of course,
They might know what this thing is. So she's like, now I can't even have my brother or my father come over here. Now she's real agitated because now there's a sex toy hanging from the blinds. So
yeah, you've done even if you call a guy, you then have to either that guy asks and then you got to talk to the guy. Like if say you're too embarrassed now to have the father or a brother come, now you have garage door repair man guy or door repair. Is there a door guy? Is there door guys? Can you call a door guy?
Well, I'm glad you said that because now it's like 10 o'clock at night and I'm like, look, we got to reconvene in the morning because I'm out of spreader bars. I am out of ideas and I need to just call a guy, but I don't even know what kind of guy you call for this problem.
I would say for you initially you need a garage door. I don't think there's a door guy. I think maybe a general contractor can help you with the door. I think you got to go garage door guy is who you had to call here.
You got to call garage door opener guy. I don't even know that was a guy.
Oh, it's a guy. Yeah, of course. Well, who installs garage doors? Of course, garage door guys.
So I'm like, all right, I'll now here's the thing. I always make TLB make all the phone calls because I don't like talking to people. And she's like, I'm not doing it this time. You need to make the phone call in the morning. So I have to hunt down who to call for this shit. And I don't even know what kind of guy this is. So I figured, but it ended up getting solved without calling anybody. So we ended up getting the garage open, but don't ask me how.
No, oh, come on. Don't ask me how. Come on.
Well, as it turns out,
is it sex toy related or what?
The garage door keypad just needed a new battery. So
Jesus fucking Christ. And that never crossed your mind.
Not until the next day.
Can I get a timeline? When did you realize the door was stuck? Because this is the next morning then. So a night has passed.
A night has passed, yeah. And then the next day, TLB said, hey, why doesn't the keypad work? And I said,
A great question.
I said, well, I don't know. It just stopped working one day. And she goes, how does it? Is it electric? Is it battery? I'm like, I'm really not sure. I think maybe it's. So I went out and checked, and there was a 9-volt battery in it. And I said, just bring home a 9-volt battery, and she did, and we popped it in, and the door opened right up. This was some 24 hours later. Yeah.
God damn it.
So that's how we got it open.
Well, hey, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't go to the extreme of tearing the door down, shoving a kid through a broken window, like greasing up a kid and shoving him through a broken window. Those were extreme measures. I'm glad you gave up before you went to the extreme measures. I think that's also a very Joe Lanza thing to do.
Yeah, I mean,
because a lot of people would just say like, "Fuck it, this door's got to come down," and just run into the door and just yank it off the hinges or something like that, or just rip it off, or what you maybe could have taken the doorknob off too, type of thing, maybe, and then slide something that way. That could have been a potential method, maybe a little bit easier. But yeah, I feel like most people would have gone to take the door down. Just rip the door off or break the window, get in, and handle it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it totally would have been.
Some people might have also just said, "Hey, maybe the battery, keep that needs a new battery." So,
if I had wrapped a towel around my elbow and broke the window open like Goldberg on Nitro, and then it was just the battery,
that would be
that
pretty.
Really
tough,
would have completed the story.
Worse yet, then you have to call the guy and then have to explain to the guy what happened, and then you'd have to leave out part of the story that the guy would not know. You know, why did you have to break this window? What happened? You have to make up some. You could just say somebody threw a ball through it or something like that. One of these dopey kids broke it or something like that. You know, I guess you don't have to explain too much. So,
well, the moral of the story is we're now able to gain access to the pantry area, the mud room, the foyer, the garage door. The garage door keypad is now operational, so we're good to go there. Got a fresh new password.
A $6 9-volt battery is all it took. Yeah.
If I could describe to you the look that TLB gave me when I punched in that punch code with the fresh battery, and then the door went, started opening up.
Well, she went what, 24 hours without the devil's lettuce?
Yeah,
that's a pretty tough one for her, right?
Well, I mean, she can go. I had to find a way to bury her a little with the story, so that's why I tossed that in there.
Okay, I see.
You know, it really was locked in there, and she really wasn't too pleased about it. But, you know, so yeah, that's, you know, it got that keypad all fixed up, and now we got in. So it was a $2 9-volt battery that solved the problem, Rich. So. There you go.
Oh my god, that is a perfect Lanza story there. Just perfect. It hits all the right beats. The sex toy, the inability to do anything household related. That's perfect. Yeah, just letting things break without fixing them. So
I feel like the spreader bar was very creative. You have to at least hand it to me on that count. That who else would have thought of something like that? I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
If I hadn't got tangled in the blinds,
you would have done it. Yeah, I feel I could feel it in your voice that you wanted that to be the solution.
Absolutely,
you really did. I mean, even like you had it hard, like because especially the practicing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's practicing, knowing how to do it, that sort of stuff.
You know what it felt like? It felt like a carnival game, and I had to get the hang of it. You know what I mean? Where,
yeah.
You know, it's like you got to throw the ball in the peach basket, or you got to knock down the fucking pins with the fucking, you know, like there's always a trick to the carnival games, and it might cost you a few bucks of trial and error to figure out how to beat the game. That's what I was doing with the spreader bar with the kitchen window. I was practicing perfecting the loop over the lock and knowing how much torque I needed to pull it open.
Again, very lasso-y. This is the most Texas you've ever been, I'd say. This is good. I forget if I told the story on the podcast before, but I was at my buddy's wedding, or it was like a wedding party. It was like before the wedding or whatever. And he was marrying a girl from Texas, and her dad was there and that sort of stuff. So there's this. They were staying in this one house. It was like because it was like a destination wedding type thing. Not exactly destination. It wasn't in their hometown. It was close enough. I don't know if you call it is an hour away a destination wedding. I don't think so. I'm not going to call it a destination wedding. Yeah, I didn't think so. So there's a TV there, and they're trying to play like a slideshow of all this the stuff going on, and they're the first the times they met each other, and the dopey wedding video thing that plays or whatever. So we have like we're trying to do something, so they have me. I'm always like the tech guy. Like they always come to me and they're like, hey, do this for me. Hey, this is and so I got put as the tech guy, so I have to find a way to get this fucking USB drive into this a TV or whatever. So eventually I get on a ladder, I stand on a chair or whatever, and I get this USB drive into one of the USB area, and like whatever one I plug it into is not working. And we find out that the one that we have to plug it into, there's a USB drive in one of these other ones. It's hard to explain exactly what it was. Whatever. Regardless of, I'm sitting here trying to reach to get this thing. I can't quite get it. I'm trying to get whatever I can to grab this fucking USB drive and see whatever. And then her dad comes over and says in like a great, because he's a very nice Texas man, but he just said, hell, get out of the way. and he made me get out of the way. He grabbed a wire. He grabbed like a HDMI cord, and in like 10 seconds made a fucking lasso out of this HDMI cord. Threw the thing up, got around the USB drive, and popped it out of the TV. It was the most incredible thing I have ever seen in my life.
You've never felt like less of a man.
I was like, oh my God. Like,
yeah.
I was doing like, and I straight up went to the future Brian Grant, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. It's done. It's not going to happen. Like, there's no way to get it. I can't get it out. I can't get it back in. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, I'll try to figure out something else. Maybe we can run a cord. And that's when her dad was like, hell, get out of the way. And then he goes and lassos this thing with a fucking HDMI cord, gets it perfectly around the USB drive, pops it out, and goes, here you go. It was just like, oh, all right. Yeah.
I love the hell.
That's exactly how he said it too, and like the nicest way. Like he wasn't trying to tell me. That's just he's like an aggressively Texas man. So he was just like, yeah, he's a rancher. Yeah. He does shit with horses all the time. So making a lasso out of an HDMI cable was nothing to him. It was easy, and he got it done in 10 seconds. And yeah, after all the shit that I had to do, and Jordan brings up a good point in the No Dope chat room that hell, get out of the way is far more polite than bless your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Bless your heart you're done.
Nope. You don't want to bless your heart.
Rich, bless your heart. Get out of the way. Like, that's...
No.
Yeah, bless your heart is like, he taps you on the top of the head and then just destroys your manhood with whatever he's about to do here. So.
Yeah, you don't want to bless your heart from a middle-aged Texas woman who just shakes her head as she says it. Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
No, that's the word. No.
Yeah, you're not good. That's
not
good.
You fucked up real good. Yeah, you did something real stupid if you're getting to bless your heart. No doubt about it.
But there you go. So adventures in lassoing HDMI cables and spreader bars. So and now a whole generation of people know about spreader bars. Seems like the No Dope chat room, many of them in the No Dope chat room discovering spreader bars for the first time as well. So
full of it. Like they're really good. Like they really had the Google. Give me a break.
I did. I'll admit I did.
You're full of it too.
I do.
It's a common device. Come on.
Is it?
I mean, I don't know. Isn't it a staple of any top drawer? I mean, I would think that.
I don't know. Is it?
Any top drawer with the rest of the devices?
I guess I don't have as fun of a top drawer as you do, so mine's not that.
What do you have? The classic bowl of condoms? Is that what you got in the top drawer? Like this?
I mean, there's some in there. There's a few in there.
Classic bowl of condoms.
Not a bowl. It's more of a just they're in the drawer, but
where they're still attached. You pull it out. It's like every comedy movie ever where the
hole that they pull it down, it goes like unravels. Yeah, no, I did not.
The awkward guy who definitely doesn't fuck has a whole string of condoms, and it's he fumbles around, he doesn't know how to open it, so is that what you have, like the top, like the bowl?
It's closer than what your top drawer is. I'll tell you that. It's somewhere in between that and your top drawer. That's where mine's at. So.
There you go. Do you know it's illegal to own more than 6 dildos in the state of Texas?
More than 6? It's illegal. Why would it be illegal to own that many?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. 6 is the limit. I don't know.
6.
How did they arrive at that?
That's what I'm trying to think. Like 5 is like it was definitely 5. And then the guy's like, well, man, like they're thinking. And somehow 5, they're like, well, that's not quite. No, make it 6. Make it 6 for sure. It needs to be 6. Like, because they definitely 5. Because 5's a nice round number, not bad. 6 is a strange. Yeah. So what would happen? So what happened if you had 7?
Oh well, you'd be breaking the law.
But like, who would find this out?
Well, how did they find out any of these? Like, isn't it something like in 29 states that like sodomy is illegal? Like, how would they ever know that?
I don't know. Now this has gotten weird. So, Dennis Owens in the chat brings up a good point. Per person or per household?
What?
The 6 dildos.
I would assume that's a good. Actually, you know what? It's a real good question.
That's a great question. You might want to ask. For no reason, just call your local municipality and just say, I'm just curious. A friend was asking me. I'm just wondering.
I'm gonna write my congressman.
Yeah, write your congressman and ask. Yeah,
I will report back. I don't know who my congressman is.
Well, time to find out. Yeah,
I will report back. Can I write Ted Cruz? Will he answer me?
Maybe
that fucking.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
he'll probably make it 4. He'll make it 4. He'll fuck you over.
Fucking Grayson Allen looking fuck.
Like, it does look so much like Grayson Allen, which
you said Grayson Allen.
More than enough should make you not. Yeah, uncanny. Uncanny represent like Grayson Allen look. It's freaky.
I think if you look like that, you have to be an asshole.
Oh yeah,
like,
well, man,
it's right to form.
It checks out.
In both cases, it's right to form. Yeah, so you know what? I am going to write a congressman.
Write your congressman or your local municipality. I think that'd be good. Maybe do it at the local level first.
Oh, they might know me around here. I don't want to.
Well, I mean,
local politics.
They don't know you. You don't leave the house. How are they going to know you?
I'm a local businessman, Rich. I can't.
You're local. They don't know anything about you.
Small town.
You think they know? It's not that small. You think that your local your mayor, the mayor of your town, knows who you are.
The mayor does not know me. People in the Chamber of Commerce 1,000% know who I am.
Okay, that's fair.
So, are there people in that city hall who know me? Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's true. So,
yeah. All right.
There you go. So 6. Are you? Well, I guess the good question would be: are you breaking the law?
That's a personal question.
Okay,
I'm not answering that.
That's fair. I
How
should ask:
dare
are
you?
you breaking the law? That's a weird way to phrase a question on a public
how dare
podcast.
You? And you know, one of the psychos listening to this would like rat me out. They'd call up.
Call your local. Call that mayor. Call that local municipality and say, "Hey, I got a hot tip for you."
Yeah.
The anonymous tip line. Say, "Hey,
we got a 7 dildo haver over on. Yeah, forget it. Be doing this show from the pokey."
Oh dear God! Well, there you go. That is 40 minutes of your guys' lives that you'll never get back. The Joe Lanza Garage Door. The always magnificent Joe Lanza Garage Door. What comedy will come in the next 5 years from now? There'll be another great story about you and your garage door. Never is the gift that keeps on giving to this podcast over the years.
Rich just committed to 5 more years.
Yeah, there it is. All right, I guess it's in. There
you go.
There we go. 5 more years of the Flagship Pod. And then no more than that, though. I'll commit for 5. I think I'm out after that. Was it 5? It's a 2007? Yeah.
2030?
Or 20? Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
2040? What year is it?
2022 is what it is right now.
So that'd be 2027.
2027. I'll do at least till 30. How about that? 2030.
At least till 30.
Yeah. I did say at least. Yeah. I guess. Well. People keep listening to this dumb show, so I have to keep doing it. So I don't know why. I really don't know why.
We have to keep doing it until all of our enemies are dead. I thought that was
true. Yeah, that is the thing that you adopted from the early days, and I have also kind of adopted in recent years as well. It does feel kind of fun because there was a while where you'd be like, "Hey, this dope podcast, they're done. They're not doing anything anymore." And I'm like, who cares about them? They have 20 listeners or whatever. But now I'm all in on it. Like I update you on like a dopey show that's got
You're more into it than me.
I'm way into it now. I'm like, fuck these guys. They think they're better than us. They're not better than us, and they go away. And I'm like, yeah, fuck them. Look at them.
You are way more into that now than me. I will get messages from you. You'll be like, "Hey, remember this guy that said this thing on Twitter in 2016? Well, look, his podcast is dead."
Right.
Like
it is kind of fun. It's kind of fun. It gives you some nice inspiration. It gives you some nice fire to keep the passion going. So
because you're secretly sassy, I try to tell people
sassy.
that.
Yeah.
You're way more into that than me. I have a few enemies in mind that I refuse to ever stop doing this because they want me to stop doing it. Don't get me wrong, but you track them all. Like you're right on top of it. You've got statistics. You've got data.
I have often talked about having a spreadsheet, like a haters spreadsheet.
Yeah,
and how many shows they have done, how many downloads they're doing, their patrons. Right. That's a good one too. Where I laugh, I'll update you. Hey, these dorks still only have 30 patrons.
Yeah, that's a fun game too. That's a fun game too. Yeah. That one, yeah, I take joy in that one too. I got to be honest. I mean, there's at least a half a dozen podcasts that have been created to directly
spite. Yeah, there's spite websites
to spite
too.
us. Yeah. And they all die. They all eventually die. They don't understand. They think it's easy. The problem is they're just not interesting people, any of them. So they're not telling spreader bar stories, and that
no, they're not.
And that's That's their demise, and their wrestling takes stink.
Yeah,
and
they
boring.
They have terrible takes on wrestling, and they're boring, and they don't talk about spreader bars. So
right, and then we celebrate their demise and dance on their graves.
Right.
And
I know they're thinking about us, and don't worry, we're thinking about you too. So we should think about you. We should be above it, but we're not. We're not.
Definitely not above it. No.
All right, so let's talk about some wrestling here on this flagship show. We are going to talk about 01. Yes, we are a 01 podcast again, Joe. 01 Fire Festival. It had cheering, sort of. We'll talk about that a little bit, but we watched the 01 Fire Festival finals. We'll talk about that. NWA Empowerrr is not returning, and at Billy had some juicy quotes on the future of the NWA and their relationships with other companies. We are going to touch on that. That's going to be some pretty fun stuff too. We are actually going to do the G1 this week. We have to do it. 2 straight weeks we had G1 planned. We had it on the topics and run sheet, and then we didn't do it. We are going to absolutely do the G1 Climax, Scott, because we have to. There's not many more days left to go. Tournament will be, I think it'll be wrapped up by the time, it'll be wrapped up. Or no, the finals will be the day of, the morning of. So that actually goes out perfect. The finals will be the morning of next week's flagship. So that works out perfectly. So we'll get you up to date on the G1, who's still in play, who still has a chance to win this thing, our predictions, all that other good stuff. AEW, latest happenings in AEW. You just did your Thursday tier reviews over at flagshippatreon.com. That is up right now for people that wanted to listen to that. But we'll talk a little bit about CM Punk's return. Is Kenny Omega possibly next? The trios tournament, and then some other stuff as well in the world of AEW, which is very exciting. A lot of shit going on right now. But let's first off talk about WWE's ratings, because for people that follow ratings and follow ratings trends, there was a big uptick in ratings throughout a lot of this Vince McMahon controversy stuff. It started with the Vince McMahon, which, by the way, we have on our Discord, voicewrestling.com/Discord, we have a section about the Wrestling Observer Awards season, and people saying, hey, here's what I think about Wrestler of the Year, here's what I think about that. It's a very fun discussion, a very good discussion. What comes up a lot, though, is most disgusting promotional tactic. One of the favorite awards every single year, the Observer Awards. And there's always people discussing, hey, well, what about this or what about that? Ric Flair's last match, okay, that one's a contender, that one's in the running. I think it's going to be real tough to beat Vince McMahon uses his addressing of his sex scandal to pop a rating on SmackDown. But that happened this year. It happened not that long ago in June. The award is made for stuff like that. The Most Disgusting Promotional Tactic Award is made for a guy deciding, well, hell, I'm going to get a big ratings one night because I'm going to address my sex scandal, and then he goes out and doesn't address it anyway. But just the very idea of Vince McMahon going out and addressing a sex scandal, it did well. SmackDown did great that week. I did an instant reaction about that SmackDown. It did big ratings. A lot of people were watching. A lot of people were talking about it. It did well. And the curiosity stuff has kind of stuck with WWE for the last couple of weeks. And then when the changeover happened where Vince McMahon resigned. He resigned. But when he does that and Triple H takes over, a big bump in the ratings in both SmackDown and Raw. But what's interesting, though, is as we're getting down to it, this week, last week on SmackDown, that big bump, it's kind of going down. That curiosity,
NXT saw a bump too, which
that's
then
true.
went back down.
Right. And they're NXT back kind of to the normal levels. SmackDown and Raw are kind of just
SmackDown and NXT are already back to where before this all started. They're back to their normal levels.
Right. And here's a few numbers for you. We'll start with SmackDown. For this one, SmackDown. So they had a peak on July 22nd. They had a huge 2.2 million total viewership average and a 0.62 in the 18 to 49. That was the highest.
Was that the Vince week? Was that the week Vince came out?
June 17th was the Vince week, which
okay
was a higher overall total viewership. Because that was
that total viewership?
That total viewership, I do not have it in my notes right now. Let me get it. I can get it real quick for you. But
it was higher than the next week. The Vince week had the higher total viewership. The following week had the monster 18 to 49.
Right, exactly. So again, we're looking at some pretty big numbers here. So that had a total viewership 2.27 million. So actually, right in that range. It wasn't too much higher, but 2.27 was the Vince week. But then that was the that July 22nd, the 2.2 million viewership, highest 18 to 49 since January 21st. So a monumentally high 18 to 49, and that July 22nd SmackDown, big peak.
Yeah.
July 29, It falls slightly in total viewership to 2.19. And
but then Triple H takes over.
Right, 18 to 49, 0.52, down 3% in total viewers, and down 16% in 18 to 49 for that July 29th. Last week's SmackDown, 2 million people on average, with a 0.49 in 18 to 49. Good numbers, obviously. Not bad. First in, certain categories and whatnot. But overall, down 5% in viewership from where they were the week prior, and down 5% in 18 to 49. So we have gone from that July 22nd, 2.2 million, 0.62, to last week's SmackDown, we're at 2 million, 0.49, 18 to 49.
These are just, SmackDown, like I said, is right back to their usual numbers. And this is with all of this alleged excitement over the Triple H era and how much better the shows are and everything else. And SmackDown is now right back where we started before any of this Vince shit occurred.
Right.
And the same thing happened with NXT. They got that 1 week where they popped real big right when the Triple H hysteria was at its peak. And the latest NXT number is right back doing the usual NXT numbers. Now, Raw, which I'm sure you have these too.
Ooh, yeah, Raw is pretty wild here. So this week's episode of Raw averaged 1.9 million viewers on average, with a 0.54 in the 18 to 49 demo. And now that's pretty good. It ranks number one over, in 18 to 49 for cable originals and stuff, as it usually does or whatever. But week over week, this is a pretty steep drop. They are down 12% from where they were in total viewership the week prior, and down 12% in 18 to 49 from where they were last week as well. So week over week, 12% down in both viewership and 18 to 49.
Because again, last week was sort of the peak of the Triple H era. Everything's so much better now. I mean, we talked about it last week. The astroturfing of the wrestling media to get everybody to making people think Sasha Banks.
Yeah, that was the
back.
Sasha week. That if you're wondering, that was as usual. Sasha pumps a huge number even if she's not on the show. But the very idea that she might be there, there you go.
That's right. And the whole whatever they termed it to all their minions in the media, the transformative statement show and all that. And then now look, Raw's the only one of the three that's still above where they started. But the point that I've been making over the last 2 or 3 weeks, both in this space and in my written reviews on the $10 tier on the paywall, because I've watched every one of these Triple H era shows. I've watched them all, okay? And the point that I keep making is it's nonsense that these shows have drastically improved and are drastically different now. And I don't think the common viewer or the quote-unquote casual viewer would even notice a difference between the Vince McMahon shows and the Triple H shows. The things that have changed are things that you specifically have to be looking for. Little things that aren't going to be, slightly longer matches or the lack of the 24/7 title or slight changes in the verbiage from the commentators. There are no massive sweeping changes to these shows. Not like these people would lead you to believe. The way that some of the wrestling media talks about these Triple H shows, you'd think he tore it down and built it back up in his vision. They're the same shows, Rich. These are largely the same shows. I feel like I'm the only person who hasn't gone crazy that's watching and reviewing these shows because there's almost nothing different about them. The production is the same. The presentation is the same. The commentary is the same. The pacing of the show is the same. There's slight differences in the way the shows are structured. Very subtle differences. But like we talked about at the start of this, I believe they blew a massive opportunity to make gigantic wholesale changes and do a completely new vision and keep those curiosity viewers who dropped in over the last few weeks that spiked all of these shows to 2022 highs in total viewership and demo viewership. They didn't do that. A lot of these people, like me, turned the show on, watched it, shrugged their shoulders and said, it's the same. And they haven't come back.
Right.
And they're leaving. And the only show that, like I said, and I'm telling you right now, if they bring Sasha Banks back, that'll spike it again. Okay? But I'm telling you right now, Raw's going to go back down to that 1.7 million because it's trending that way already. And the shows haven't been good. I know there's media people who swear that they've been exactly the same. I mean, we haven't had a terrible Raw since Vince left, but we haven't had a blow-away, awesome, incredible Raw. They've been average shows. And they've been the same fucking shows. And the ratings are starting to reflect that. Okay? And I feel really bad for these websites and these Twitter accounts who are so cornered and boxed in by their customer bases and by their followers that they have to sit here and pretend that Dexter Lumis is a big deal. I mean,
this was a banner week for like, whoa, Dexter Lumis, Karrion Kross, Triple H is making moves. Like, really? I'm supposed to believe that you are genuinely, earnestly excited that Dexter Lumis has returned to the WWE fold. I'm supposed to believe this.
Imagine having to type Karrion Kross in all caps with exclamation points because that's what your customers demand.
God.
Imagine having to do that and not choking on your own puke.
Karrion Kross.
I mean, these people.
Nobody else wanted him.
Karrion Kross and Dexter Lumis? That's what we're excited about? Like we're genuinely excited about Karrion Kross, a flop on two different brands, and Dexter Lumis. That's what we're excited about. And now I have to read tweets from the John Albas of the world about how great these shows are now. Are you kidding me? Is this a giant fucking prank on me? I watch these shows. They're not that good. And guess what? The viewership is reflecting that. It's going right back where we started. These shows aren't any good. They're not any different. Dexter Lumis? We're excited about this?
Well, and to reflect, I just want to pick up the numbers here. This is from WrestleNomics, of course. This is August 1st. Just to give you an idea of just how many people were interested in that episode of Raw. So this is Raw ratings for August 1st, again from WrestleNomics. WWE Raw last night on the USA Network was watched by 2.2 million viewers, 2.23 million viewers on average, including a 0.61 in the 18 to 49. The post-SummerSlam episode in the first Raw written under Paul Levesque since he took over creative from Vince McMahon was the show's highest total viewership since March 16th, 2020, and its highest 18 to 49 viewership since April 4th, 2022. March 16, 2020 was the first Raw without an audience due to COVID. Compared to last week, Raw was up 17% in total viewership, and among viewers 18 to 49, viewership was up 23%. So that is a shit ton of people coming and watching that show on August 1st. People that either abandoned WWE during COVID, because again, you have to go back to COVID to find that highest one, or just over the years have just kind of been beaten down and said, whatever. Those people came back and watched the show in droves. That 18 to 49, it was up 23% week over week in 18 to 49. That's massive. That's a huge number of people in that key demo that you want that came back and watched it. And what did I say? They're down 12% of those? They've already lost 12% of those? 23%?
They lost half of them.
Half of them are already gone.
They have already lost half of the people who came back in hopes that the show would be better than it used to be. Because it was the same fucking show. And SmackDown and NXT coming all the way back tells me that Raw is not going to be far behind. Okay? Because they were down to 1.9 million this week, which, I mean, sometimes good Raws under McMahon would do 1.9 million. It's not like 1.9 million was some untouchable. Now, the 2.2 the week before was a huge number. Everybody would agree to that. The demo number was huge too. But we're almost back down to normal levels already with Raw. We are back to normal levels with SmackDown and NXT. This supports my theory. And I've been watching these shows with an open mind, looking for the same changes that everybody else is looking for. And Rich, I've come on this show with you and we've discussed why they aren't making more sweeping changes. I think it would have been smart to do all kinds of, to show that the show is different now. They haven't done that. There's a blown opportunity. And I'm sorry, Dexter Lumis and Karrion Kross are not a big deal. Yeah, that's not going to do it.
Yeah, if you can bring back, if you can scoop up a Bryan Danielson or something like that and have him leave, there's plenty of names that they could do. Plenty of names that would actually change the course. As far as like free agents out in the open, I mean, it's Sasha. Banks. Yeah, Sasha's the big one there. If you can come to an agreement there, I'm trying to think of who you could steal from AEW, and who's ever kind of free. But all those guys are pretty much locked up or. Yeah, I guess if you really could make the MJF thing work somehow, some way.
Rich, when Kross got fired, okay, he showed up on a couple New Japan shows, and New Japan fans were mad. They're like, get this guy out of New Japan. Yeah. This guy stinks. There were rumors that Tony Khan wanted to sign Kross, and AEW fans were like, oh my God, no, Tony, don't do it. Please don't. They ran vignettes for Kross on MLW. And MLW fans were like, oh, my God, Killer Kross is what the fuck? Nobody wanted this guy.
I'll tell you, the folks in a WrestlePro Alaska were big Karrion Kross fans, so I will tell you that.
He goes back to WWE, and I have to look at tweets that say Karrion Kross in all caps with exclamation points. I'm it's just like a gigantic prank. What
honestly, I think I can't figure out which one I think is more ridiculous. The Karrion Kross one, or I think the Dexter Lumis one had me more. People were like, "Is that Dexter Lumis?" Like, okay.
We got Ryan Satin doing Infinity Gauntlet memes with these guys' faces like they matter. Dexter Lumis?
I feel like Dexter Lumis, at least Karrion Kross, you can give some plausible deniability that, hey, this guy was a main eventer in NXT, and well, yeah, sure, he flopped on Smackdown, but that was Vince's fault because he put him in a mask and he took Scarlett away. But in NXT, he was. But we, if you are a listener to this show, you will know that we from day one said Karrion Kross is not doing. I mean, he's doing all this stuff in front of no crowds, so we don't know what crowds are reacting to what. And two, when he was on top of NXT, ratings weren't exactly a bonanza. It wasn't like a lot of people were saying, "Whoa, Karrion Kross on NXT. I know what I'm watching this Wednesday."
No,
it was bad. It was a bomb.
He bombed on both brands.
Right.
He bombed in NXT. His debut and the first couple weeks, people were into it because like, oh, this is different. Look at this entrance, right? It was 100%
Fall and
the
Prey,
entrance.
yeah, a bunch of gifs of Fall and Prey, and then all that stuff.
Okay, now I always thought it was dork shit. Okay, and so did you. I mean, we ripped it from the start that it was corny as hell, and Scarlett with her dorky fucking lip syncing. It was awful. Okay.
Oh, and Prey.
Yeah, making faces like
it's smoke everywhere.
Yeah, she's making faces like she's got agita. Like it was so weird, right? So then, like you said, it's not like this guy was drawing in massive ratings, and the matches stunk. He was awful on top. Guy was no good. He goes to the main roster, and yeah, listen, I can't pin that all on him. The fucking helmet, the fucking gladiator outfit, getting rolled up by Jeff Hardy on his first night.
Getting rid of Scarlett.
None of that was good. Getting rid of Scarlett, but he wouldn't have gotten over anyway. I mean, I'm convinced that because he wasn't really over in NXT beyond the entrance. This guy's not a big deal. And then the bell has to ring with this dude. That's the other problem. Okay? It's like Triple H, he's bringing back these people that no one, like, I don't want to see these people anyway. Top Dollar is coming back Friday. Good. Resist anyone else's temptation of bringing that guy in because he stinks too.
Yeah, and there's also the floating around. We're starting the maybe Bray Wyatt thing, and I'm like, great,
good,
perfect, awesome.
Yes,
anybody hire all these people that I don't want to watch on any of the shows that I want to watch. So yes, great. Hire the Fiend, bring the Fiend back, and let him have full creative control, please. That'd be great for the show to have the Fiend back and give him full creative control. Yeah, bring in Karrion Kross, bring in Dexter Lumis. Top Dollar, yeah, great. Bring him in. Everybody that didn't get signed by any of the companies that I care about, perfect. Bring them all in. Bring them all in.
I want nothing more than that Ryan Satin Infinity Gauntlet meme. I want those next two faces to be Top Dollar and Bray Wyatt. I'm begging for it. I am begging for it.
Yeah, so it's Triple H with the Infinity whatever, and it's Dakota Kai, which is a legitimate. Getting Dakota Kai back is good.
But you know what? She's a nice little wrestler.
Yeah, right. I agree. I was going to qualify that by saying like, let's also pump the brakes on that. Getting Dakota Kai in is great, and I like Dakota Kai. You like Dakota Kai. We both thought that Tony Khan should have hired her immediately if he had the opportunity to. But okay, that's a good little pickup. Got back to the table with her. That's great. That's good. She's not Sasha Banks, let's be honest. She's not moving any numbers. Dakota Kai being in the company is not going to change anything. It's good. Good little pickup. Getting to the table with Io Shirai and making sure that she doesn't leave. Good. That's good.
Nice little new stable they got there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Getting Bayley back in the fold. That's good. Do all that stuff.
Aside from that stable, the rest of this has been a gigantic miss. It's all been a giant whiff.
Yeah, he's getting his guys, quote unquote, but all of his guys are the guys that helped NXT lose miserably to AEW in the first place. So it's like, all right, cool. Bring Dexter Lumis and Karrion Kross back. Great. Bring Top Dollar back. Bring all these guys were not good in the first place. So I feel like that's unfortunately the thing that a lot of people are forgetting. Yeah. Now maybe, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that now the bargaining table is a little different because Triple H is there. The bargaining table is going to be a little bit different for AEW, for any of these other companies, because Triple H is there. So anybody who went through NXT or has a positive thought about Triple H or whatever might, give a second thought to join that company right now. But not a lot of those people are available right now. It's not like he can go to a stable of people right now and do it. And that kind of speaks to one of the bigger issues as well, is that, yes, maybe 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, he's going to be able to have a conversation with Adam Cole that he might not have been able to have before. Maybe he is going to be able to have a conversation with a Bryan Danielson that he wasn't going to be able to have before. I doubt it, but, just in case. And, there might be a few other people that he will be able to get to the table that probably were never going to go to the table if Vince McMahon was still there. But by that time, is it going to matter anymore? Is in 3 years, is it going to matter that much that he's able to bring back Adam Cole or whatever, or that he's able to bring back whatever? Right now, there's not a whole lot of people, and we're seeing that. The reflection is that they are trying to do new stuff, and he is trying to bring new people in, which is good. That's what he should be doing. He should be trying to bring new people in, but the people that he's bringing in are not anybody that matters whatsoever. So, A for effort, I guess, but like,
we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. I mean, Killer Cross? What? He brings this guy back, and then they immediately lose 300,000 viewers the next week. It's like no one cares about Killer Cross. Come on. No.
And inserting him into like the top, he's the number 2 heel on SmackDown. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think he's living vicariously through him. He wants to be doing that gimmick.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just this Triple H, this filleting of Triple H that's been going on. I mean, it's so overblown. I mean, the guy, he does nothing but swing and miss so far. I mean, and the ratings are starting to reflect that, and I think eventually, people will catch up on that. I mean, well, we'll see. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong.
Yeah,
and Raw will do fucking 2.1 million or something on Monday. I mean, unless Sasha Banks comes back, I don't see it. I've been right every step of the way so far with this. I mean, we predicted, the curiosity bumps, and they got those, and we predicted that it would go right back to where it started, and it has. Because they haven't done things that's going to keep people around that weren't watching before. All the people watching before probably are excited about fucking Karrion Kross. I don't know. But the people who they could have won back over.
You have brought up many times, too. I do find that the tweets very funny, the ones I've been following, where it's like, hey, Raw had some missteps over the last few years, but it feels like things are in the right direction. It's like, wait a minute, you told me that Raw was good. Like, you've been telling me for 2 years now that Raw's showing some really good improvement. Oh, hey, there's this. Every single week I have to read all these people telling me how good Raw was, or hey, Raw was a really solid show. Hey, they've done a really good job of promoting this, or hey, they're really on the right track with this guy. Now all of a sudden I'm being told, you know what, there were some missteps here and there, but it feels like they're finally on the right track. They're improving. It's it's the Miz thing. It's like, if you keep improving, like, how are you continuing to improve? How every year do you improve?
Yeah, it's a lot of these people are they're pointing out how improved the show is when they never pointed out the flaws before.
Right.
So are you admitting that the show has been terrible all this time, or are you just full of shit? And we know the answer. We know the answer. Everybody knew that Monday Night Raw has been an atrocious television show for 10 years. Everybody deep down in their heart of hearts knew that. Okay. And I think what we're seeing here, all shtick aside, all joking aside, all cheap shots aside, I think what we're seeing here are people who genuinely really want this show to be better.
Yeah.
And their enthusiasm is reflected in you can feel the enthusiasm in their takes. These small, tiny things that have changed, they're extrapolating them into these big, meaningful changes because it's almost like they want to wish that into existence. They want the Triple H era to be something different than the Vince era. The problem is, so far, and it's only, it's been less than a month, obviously, and maybe his strategy is to slow roll a lot of these changes, which, again, I disagree with that strategy because then you lose all the people who were curious to see what you were going to do. Or it could be that what we have opined, which is, well, why rock the boat? We're going to get billions of dollars in television right fees again in a year. Why should I change anything? Let's just keep pumping out content. People are going to tweet out Dexter Lumis in all caps with exclamation points. So we're going to win either way. So why risk a good thing?
Right. We're certainly going to win the media game. And I think that is, and we talked about that a couple weeks ago. The WWE relationship with the media is only going to improve. And Triple H has always been good about that. Triple H was great about, he's getting fucking fruit baskets from Reddit and stuff, years ago, like those people love him. And I think he is going to be more open, and there probably will be, conference calls before pay-per-views and a little bit more opening of that. And that's, a smart strategy by Triple H. Clearly it's working out already. Like, look at how it's reflected already. The point is, though, is that going to mean anything for actual tangible business? But like you said, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything, like, unless they just siphon viewers away, which they're not going to. Like, what we've seen over the last 2 years, and we talked about again, there's nothing more you could do. As horrible as this show has been, as horrible as this company has been over the last 2 years, and you still had 1.7 million people watching every single Monday, you're good. Those people aren't going anywhere. Some of them might die, given the average age of the viewer, but for the most part, a lot of them are just going to watch your shit no matter what. So, like we've always said, why are you going to do anything that's going to maybe risk those people not watching anymore when you could just kind of coast with the way you're doing and just keep doing what you're doing? And that's clearly, I think, what you're going to do. But then you win the PR battle a little bit more, have more people praise you, have it, and maybe that does help. Maybe that does get you more viewers. Maybe that is the long-term play, is, hey, I'm not going to dramatically change the show because I don't want my key people to stop watching, but maybe I'm going to have, I'm going to have my people carry water for me, and then maybe more people will maybe some new people will curiosity check this out because they're being told that the show is good now, and the show is great, and this thing is happening, and this thing is happening, and this thing is happening. How many of those people stick around, though, once they watch the show and it's actually bad again? And I guess that's the problem that we're finding.
The PR battle is so easy for them to win too, because there's an entire generation of media that wants very badly to praise WWE.
Right, and like you brought that up, and that's, to me, that's it shouldn't it. And we do this all the time. We talk about this all the time, but like, you shouldn't, as a member of the pro wrestling media, no matter what part you are, you're not supposed to be hoping. Like, is it good that a show is good? Would it be better if a show was good? Yes, but you shouldn't be like rooting for anything.
I think it depends. I think it depends on what kind of media you are.
Sure.
But the overall point is, there's an entire several generations of media right now where it's very easy to win them over because they want to root for WWE, and it doesn't take much for them to praise it, as we've seen. Bringing back inconsequential mid-carders is a huge, they'll make it out like a huge deal. Very minor, slight changes to the show. I mean, people keep going on and on about how much time the matches are getting and all this, and there's still distraction finishes. There's still 2-minute matches. There's still non-finishes on the show. The reality is, not much has changed at all. But if you give these people one Ricochet match that gets a little bit of time and he actually wins a bout, it's easy to win that PR battle, because they're going to go write articles and do podcasts and send out tweets saying how Triple H has completely changed the world, because they're so desperate for anything to be better and different, because deep down they knew Vince's shows were atrocious. They knew it. You can't not think they weren't. They were awful. Everybody knows they were awful, and now the masks are off when it comes to that, it's easy to win over that kind of media, because these are people who grew up John Cena fans. There's people in the media who were kids when The Shield was a hot act, and now they're 20, 21 years old, and now they love this company and they want this company to be great. The Shield was 7-8 years ago, Rich. There was a 12-year-old Shield fan who's now fucking who's doing news aggregation for fucking insert site here.
Yeah.
And has a podcast and has a fucking voice. And that person, these, you don't even have to go back to Attitude Era fans or fucking, Hulk Hogan fans. Those exist too. But, this is the company they knew, is the company they love. And
right. You got people that follow the Yes Movement and the Daniel Bryan win at WrestleMania that are now, 18 years old. So,
yeah. And now everybody has a fucking podcast and everybody has a voice. I mean, some of these people shouldn't, but they do. And, and so, and everyone has to have an opinion. And so it's easy to control these people because they desperately want to praise it. They love this thing. They grew up with it and they love it. I mean, shit. 3 weeks ago, they were saying, "Thank you, Vince." So what do you think you're going to get from these people?
Gotta hand it to them.
Yeah.
Whether you like him or don't like him, you gotta hand it to him. So. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna keep note of these ratings, because I think it does. it's so far following what we told you we thought was going to happen. We'll see. I mean, something could dramatically change that. A Sasha Banks return can dramatically change that, I think. But most other things, I don't know. I don't see much else that's going to do it other than the show's just being better or getting better or people. But I don't know. Like that, it's another thing too that I don't know what the average WWE fan really wants these days. Like,
and listen, and remember this too, for all the Triple H praise. Okay. This is a guy who just got his ass kicked, and it only took 18 months to do it, to the point he got fired, when he had every advantage in the world, when he had history of the NXT brand, and NXT was the darling of the pro wrestling world for all those years before it was on TV, and he had all that history. He had the backing of WWE. He had USA Network behind him. He had a 2-week head start on Dynamite. Remember, they jumped off to the 2-week head start? They had a 2-week head start on Dynamite. They got their asses kicked week 1, and it was never even a competition. And he got destroyed. So the genius creative mind, Triple H, already got destroyed once to the point where he got fired, built it in a completely different image, and sent him packing. So let's be careful, too, with how great and visionary this man is and how creative he is. And also, the last year or two, the dying days of NXT weren't exactly critically acclaimed either. Okay, they weren't exactly critically.
It does feel like we skip over those and just go right back to, the glory days of NXT and kind of skip over.
Yeah, everything was, and that's when he wasn't being held accountable. When NXT was peaking and truly great, okay, Takeover Brooklyn, the rise of Sasha Banks and the Horsewomen, that's when he wasn't being held accountable for anything. And then, he did okay, with the Gargano and Ciampa and Adam Cole era, filling buildings for takeovers, piggybacking off the pay-per-views. I won't take that away from him. But, as soon as he had to deliver head-to-head and be held accountable for actual numbers, the guy failed. So let's be careful. Listen, do I think he's going to do a better job than Vince? Of course I do. And the early shows have been a little better, but I'm not seeing dramatic changes to where I'm like, wow, Raw is actually good now. It's not. I reviewed a Smackdown the other day that stunk. It was terrible. And these Raws are middling. They're average. So let's be careful with this guy. I think people want him to be their savior very badly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's affecting some of the takes. So, I guess we can wrap up the segment with the old axiom: let it play out.
Absolutely. Yep. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So
yes,
as one Paul Levesque told us. So all right, let's talk about some happenings in the world of AEW. As I mentioned, Thursday tier reviews up at flagshippatreon.com. You reviewed this week's Dynamite. I imagine you liked it. I did not listen, but I thought it was a great episode of Dynamite. I assume you thought it was as well.
Stunk.
You hated it.
Nah, of course.
Had
it was
3 good matches and this return to CM Punk. Yeah. Stunk.
And I mean, seriously, how can you watch Dynamite last night and compare any of these fucking Raws to that?
Dude.
It doesn't compare.
I know. I bring it up every week. I bring it up anytime I fill in for you on the Thursday tier reviews. I am just flummoxed that people every single week will find something to dislike about Dynamite or compare it directly. It is you cannot compare a week of Dynamite to anything that Raw has ever done, that SmackDown's ever done. And I made that a point recently. We'll talk about the Battle of the Belts here in a minute. Like, when I was done watching Takeshita and Claudio, I was like, that's better than any Raw match that's of the last 15 years. Like, already. That match right there is better than any Raw match of the last 15 years. Jericho and Moxley, last night. Find me a Raw match in the last 10 to 15 years that was anywhere near as good as Jericho and Moxley was. Find me a Raw match ever in the history of Raw that was as good as Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega was on Dynamite. I'm not going to find it.
Raw hit the air, 93?
1993, yep.
And Dynamite hit the air, 2019?
2019, yep.
If you plotted out the 20 best matches in the history of Raw and Dynamite, how many would be Raw matches and how many would be Dynamite?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And yet,
I think 15 of them would be Dynamite.
Yeah, of course.
Am I out of line for saying that?
And again, people will bring, well, Dynamite's structured differently. Well, Dynamite, they give the opportunity. Yes, that's good. I like that. I am a wrestling fan. I would rather have a show where the wrestlers that are good are given an opportunity to have good matches. That's good. You book this stuff. That for people say, well, you can't really compare them because, Raw isn't really. No, Raw could be that. It's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure other podcasts would have other opinions on this, but I can't wrap my head about where they're coming from. I mean, you just like a completely different kind of wrestling than I like, I guess. But
yeah, you get a Dynamite like last night's, and then it's just like these little things. I call it, and people have now kind of memed it on our Discord, is the Brandy promo. I forget what it was, but I was reviewing an episode of Dynamite, and it was the week after Brandy had some bad promo or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this show is giving you more great wrestling than any American television wrestling show has ever given you by leaps and bounds, like you said, right there. If you compare them, top 20 matches on free television history, there's a good chance that more than 75% or at least 75% are going to come from a show that's been around for a couple years. And yet the Discord is just overwhelmingly this one bad. If I have to hear one more thing about the fucking Truth Busters, or whatever the fuck their name is, this week, who cares? It's like, this girl was great, and I'm hearing, I can't believe they pushed the Truth Busters or the Trust Busters. Who cares? Who cares? The littlest things get people so upset about Dynamite when the show is usually pretty fucking great. It's just so weird. The standards that they're giving you, but then it's like, I don't know, that Dan Lambert promo sure did suck. Who cares? It was 2 minutes. Like, I don't care being in a tournament. Who cares?
It's almost like the WWE fans actually, have it better in that. Like, they have the better outlook, right? Like, they'll be excited about Dexter Lumis.
The littlest thing. The littlest thing gets them excited.
The AEW fans, you have 1 or 2 bad segments on a 2-hour Dynamite, and they think the show sucks.
Yeah, they're going out of business.
Oh, we're going out of business. Yeah, Tony has lost it. Oh, Tony
he's lost his touch. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. He's lost his touch. It's like, okay,
you're not going to like every segment. Yeah. I mean, it's just like I've reviewed every Dynamite ever, and there hasn't been a single Dynamite where I liked every segment. I mean, you could be a great Dynamite and have 2 segments that I didn't like. I mean, it's just they do seem to be harsher critics, the hardcore Dynamite fan versus the hardcore WWE fan. But the hardcore WWE fan, they've had what they love dumped on for so many years that they feel like they have to counter that. I think that's what the mindset is. They feel like they have to overcompensate for Raw and SmackDown because Raw and SmackDown have been whipping boys for so long to a lot of people. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. But in terms of AEW, we're building up towards All Out. I said this behind the paywall today. I'd like your take. Punk Mox after 1 segment feels like a super hot match, and I'm already convinced. I don't need to know a single match on All Out. If Punk and Mox is going to be on All Out, that pay-per-view is going to be a wild success. That's how I feel. That's how I feel after seeing 1 segment. That was a home run and a half. And I don't even care what the rest of the card is. And the rest of the cards, AEW pay-per-views always end up being great, but on that, the strength of that match alone, they can't fuck that up because these two guys are too good.
I'm with you. Yeah, it was a hell of a segment, and obviously they didn't do anything. They just looked at each other, middle finger, and I think that's kind of all you're going to have to do with this. I mean, they're obviously going to snipe back and forth at one another. Punk will say, hey, I'm the champion, and you're the interim champion, and Mox will say, I'm not no goddamn interim champion, I'm the champion. It's like, I don't think that you have to do all that. I think just the aura and the power of Mox versus Punk went fucking apeshit for CM Punk coming back, because he hasn't been there for a while. And it's good to have guys go away for a little while and come back, and it makes them feel fresh and it makes them feel hot. And yeah, I'm with you. I think this match feels like a big deal already. And yeah, all you have to do is fill out the rest of this card. But I think with just Mox and Punk is going to be more than enough to, I think, get this card pretty good. And people, that All Out name has been trusted for a while too, because they've knocked it out of the park with the All Outs, and particularly last year's All Out. So I think people will go in with the expectation that, hey, this is going to be a hell of a show. And AEW has given you that. They've given you hell of pay-per-views, really good pay-per-views over the last year or so, or last year and a half, basically. So, yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that's going to do well. And yeah, I think Moxley and Punk, which is clearly the match, barring any unforeseen injuries or whatever, but that's a hell of a match that's going to draw, for sure.
So Dynamite is usually a good show. Every week it's pretty much a good show. The ratings are steady. They're number one on cable just about every week, but there's so much hand-wringing over Dynamite and, people saying, they're not going to get a new TV deal. We haven't talked about that a lot because I feel like it's a non-story. I don't have any concerns that they're going to get a TV deal. And if it isn't from Warner Brothers Discovery, somebody's going to throw a pile of money at them because you can't have a show like Dynamite perform the way that it does and it have no value to the point where it won't be on the air after 2023. That's preposterous. I don't buy it. I think it's utter nonsense. I think it comes from a lot of people who are trolls. It comes from a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about. And I think in general, we give a lot of these people way more oxygen than they deserve. These people need to be ignored. Rampage is legitimately struggling. The Battle of the Belts did not do a good number on Saturday. So those have progressively, the three Battle of the Belt shows have progressively done less and less viewers every step of the way. Rampage, I think, I wrote at length behind the paywall on the $10 tier on what I would do to try to fix Rampage because I think that's kind of, those numbers have lost their way. I thought a lot of Rampage critique in terms of the numbers for a long time was ill-informed and disingenuous because they were never going to match that Punk debut number and they were winning their time slot just about every Friday. But now we've seen some Rampage numbers that have legitimately been concerning. But overall, Dynamite is such a good performer that, I can't imagine Warner Brothers Discovery not wanting it. But if they don't, I think that somebody else will. So we'll see how that all shakes out in 2023. But I think All Out is going to have a very much a big main event that fans are into. Now, this is going to be the first pay-per-view they've ever done, which is not going to have year-over-year growth because they are not beating the Punk debut. No way. So you're not beating that with Punk Moxley, but I still think that they can do a very big number for All Out with this main event. And overall, I mean, there's a lot of weird doom and gloom around AEW that I do not understand. I think some of it is the merger, and I think some of it is all of the enthusiasm for the Triple H era, which is kind of like taking a lot of the spotlight from AEW. And but a lot of it, and some of it is Rampage and some of the poor numbers that it does. But that's so secondary to me. I mean, Dynamite wins Wednesdays every week, like by sizable margins. What are we doing here? And they did it throughout a summer with a massive slew of injuries, and these people are back.
They're coming back. Yeah, Punk's back. Danielson's back. We're going to talk a little bit
Omega
in a sec, but Omega feels imminently coming back. So yeah,
Adam Cole is back on TV, and these people were all gone, not on TV, and they were still number one every Wednesday. So, and I said this behind the paywall as well. I think this fall, as we move from summer to fall, I think Dynamite's numbers are going to go up. Because all of these stars are back, and All Out's always a huge show. And so I think the numbers are going to improve from this point forward. So I don't know. When I look at big picture AEW, I think they're in a great position. And, maybe Warner Brothers Discovery does decide that they don't want to pay a lot of money for Dynamite, but they're getting a bargain right now. And I think that other television executives know that AEW is a gigantic bargain. Dynamite's a big bargain. And I want your thoughts on this. I think a real dark horse for Dynamite and for AEW is Fox. And let me lay this out for you.
Interesting. So Fox proper or one of the
Fox
FS1s
proper.
Or whatever. Okay. So Fox proper. Okay.
Because
it's $1 billion less, or about $500 million less that you're going to have to pay.
It's going to be so much less for them to. Now, we know they're lukewarm on SmackDown as it is.
Sure.
Right? We know that. Like, that's reported. Okay? They're not, like, disgusted with the performance, but they were expecting more. Okay? That's fair to say. And it cost $500 million. Okay? They can get AEW cheaper in the next round. And yeah, Dynamite probably isn't going to do the 2 to 2 million viewers, or maybe it will, but let's just work under the premise that it won't. And let's work under the premise that it won't do quite the same 18 to 49 that SmackDown does. But you're also getting it at far less money. And you can get more value out of it that way. Because even though it might come up a little bit short based on what SmackDown was doing, by paying so much less for it, you might end up coming out ahead. And they might not want to give WWE a raise for SmackDown. You know, because now they're going to have to pay. That's how you have to measure this.
Yeah, there could be some optics thing of what are we giving you guys a raise for? Because we're going to have to. It's a classic. It happens in sports all the time. For people that need a sports analogy, is you have a player on your team and their contract is due, and you think that player is good. You like that player, but you don't want to pay them the amount of money that they're worth because another team probably will pay that person what they're worth, but you don't want to be the one paying them what it's worth. But you don't hate that player. You don't think that player sucks. You just don't want to pay them $200 million a year or $200 million over 7 years or whatever. You know, that basketball happens all the time with guys getting like max contracts and stuff. A lot of times these teams will just say, hey, look, you know, we like this guy. You know, he's a good player. We don't want to be the ones that pay him, you know, a quarter of our entire salary cap. And WWE might, or Fox might be in the same position with WWE saying, look, you're obviously you're a good property to have. You're this sort of thing, but if we have to give you a raise, the optics of giving you a raise when we are disappointed by your ratings, that we are disappointed by the overall numbers that you brought in, that could definitely feel weird. Where they could say, hey, look, we can save some money on this end by getting another property that is pro wrestling that we can get for a quarter of what we're paying you guys, which is still a very good amount of money, or half of what we're paying you guys is still a very good amount of money for AEW. They'll take that in a heartbeat.
If we can get them for half of what we're paying you, and they can produce 75 to 80%.
Right. And we have to give you guys a raise because that's how this game is played.
Right. Now it's a value play.
Right. Like the optics of giving them a raise might seem weird to Fox, saying, hey, look, we don't, you know, it's good to have you guys on the network, but we don't want to be the ones that pay you a full $1 billion.
And not even necessarily just the optics of giving them a raise, but just the pure dollars.
I guess the dollars and cents of, do we want to give you guys $1 billion?
Right. We want to give you guys $750 million now to get the same demo and rating that the steady numbers that you give us every week. Well, we can pay these guys fucking whatever, throw it 350 or 400 million or whatever, and they're going to give us 75% of what you give us. So we're coming out ahead in the end. You know, so I don't know. I see Fox as a dark horse. I don't know anything. I'm not making any predictions, but could I see a scenario like that playing out? Especially if, you know, Nick Khan wants to get, or not even necessarily, or if Nick Khan's, or if WWE's other partners want to get all of WWE under their umbrella. If NBC wants to get everything under their umbrella, you know, maybe they want to bring SmackDown into the fold. And maybe it's better for WWE to have everybody under one umbrella. Well, now that opens up Fox, and maybe Fox figures, hey, this wrestling shit did well on Friday nights. It carries us through the summer, and we've got this brand, which we can get at a discount, and they can give us similar performance at worst. You know, so that anyway, I see Fox as a real dark horse in all of this.
I see, at the very least, I do see other players in the mix. I definitely, because there's a lot of people that think that Turner's just going to kick them to the side, then no one else is going to want them, and they're going to have to.
But I don't understand why people think that.
Yeah, I don't know why Turner wouldn't want them. That's. I mean, I know that people are doom and gloom about the merger and all that sort of stuff, but you know, live sports properties that do well in key demos is every network wants that. Every network wants DVR proof, you know, high ad rate stuff, and wrestling, because of its very nature of being simulated sport, is always going to be well valued, and rightfully so, because it does present a tremendous value to a network. Networks want that stuff. Networks get that. I mean, it's the most engaged and best viewers you can get are people that are watching sports and simulated sports. I mean, it's just the way the game is played. You know, and we've been waiting 15 years for this bubble to burst, and it hasn't burst yet. If anything, the sports properties just keep doing better and keep doing better.
No,
we're getting another.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting another round of this, at least. The Big Ten, I was just going to bring that up. They have left ESPN.
God, they're going to get such a big bag of money.
They have left ESPN after 40 years of being on ESPN. And what they did was what WWE did. They split it up. CBS is getting a piece for $350 million. NBC is getting a piece for $350 million, and you know, a third network's get. So they've split up their package among three different groups, and they're getting over $1 billion. So that's what WWE essentially did by splitting up Raw and SmackDown. between USA and Fox. And that's the Big Ten, Rich. That's not even the SEC.
I was going to say, what's the SEC going to get when they get to the table? Jesus Christ.
So, I mean, now look, I know that the Big Ten, this is really getting in the weeds, but they added USC and UCLA, which means
two more
Big
media
Ten,
markets. Yeah, two big media markets.
A gigantic, they get LA, but what it also does for them is now on Saturday afternoons in the fall, what the Big Ten can offer these networks is games from noon till 1 a.m. because they have games going off in every time zone now. They've got teams from New Jersey to California now that they've added UCLA and USC. So, their big noon kickoff on Fox, which is an enormous hit. I mean, the big noon kickoff, I don't know for people who pay attention, they rolled that out a couple years ago on Fox. The Big Ten big noon kickoff is a huge rating success. It's the biggest window there is in college football. Well, now you can do games in Maryland and New Jersey at noon, and then you do at 3:30. You do all the Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, and then in prime time you've got USC and UCLA.
Yeah,
so that
Big Ten football will be on all day Saturday.
All day, yeah, right.
Awesome.
It's so attractive for television to sell that package. So, which is why they're getting $1 billion, and they've got 3 different networks by the balls: Fox, CBS, and NBC. So. The point here is the sports media bubble. Again, is it a bubble or is it just the reality?
Yeah, it's not a bubble anymore. It's sports business reality. Yeah, sports TV reality at this point.
So, I mean, this idea that in 2023, whether Warner Brother Discovery decides we don't want wrestling anymore or not, that Dynamite is just going to go away.
Which, by the way, I got a email today from Warner PR sending me numbers about their Dynamite's ratings. So.
Yeah.
So clearly, I got it here from someone at Warner Media. It's the publicity director of TBS, TNT, and True TV. The headline says, TBS's AEW Dynamite continues to dominate cable on Wednesdays. So they despise this company as they're spending resources and time sending me PR emails about how great they are.
And look at the other context clues, too. Look at all of these, all the corporate synergy. First, the Shark Creek thing. Now, the Game of Thrones cross promotion next week on Dynamite.
So this is really weird, Joe. In this email that I got from this person, publicity director at TBS, TNT, and True TV, they got 18 to 49 and 25 to 50. But that's only dork wrestling fans care about that stuff, right?
Yeah, no, not the actual networks. They don't pay attention.
That's
to that.
Weird. Even though, this is. Sent to everybody on the Warner Media PR list, but that's strange. Ranked number 1 on cable for Wednesday among 18 to 49. That's so weird because only dorks that care about that shit. So weird.
So this is PR getting sent to you from the new people running things.
Yeah, it says Warner Brothers Discovery. Her at Warner Media, Warner Brothers Discovery.
You've got all this corporate synergy and these cross promotions now with, Game of Thrones. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that as a brand in television at this point. And there's cross promotion there. And if you listen to Tony Khan speak at all of these, not necessarily the scrums, but the media calls before the pay-per-views, and when he's asked directly, Brandon Thurston asked him directly, are you negotiating with anyone other than Warner Brothers Discovery? And he completely dodged the question and wouldn't answer it. Well, okay, so a lot of times when you ask these people questions, you don't get direct answers, and it's a skill you have to read between the lines.
Right.
What is he saying by dodging that and talking about 1970s territory wrestling for some reason? Like, what's he saying? Well, what he's saying is he's not negotiating with anybody else because he feels, and obviously that means that things are going well with the people that he is negotiating with. Because otherwise he would be, or he really wants to be there, and he's not going to reveal that he's he's opening up negotiations with other outside entities. Either way, that bodes well for a deal with the network he's currently on. I know Brandon has a theory that, has he made that theory public? I don't know if I've heard him say it on his podcast.
I don't know for sure.
You know the one I'm talking about.
I do.
I'm gonna leave it out then.
Yeah.
But just in case that's something that he just opines about privately that he hasn't. I think he's talked about it on the podcast, so I'm going to play it safe. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel this doom and gloom that everybody else feels, and I think it's I think it's a lot of oxygen for trolls.
Yeah, maybe we should stop doing that. Yeah, we should just really stop caring what those people think.
I don't think Dave Meltzer's helping. I mean, because he seems to be very negative he seems not negative, but worried
Very worried. Yeah, he's spooked about the merger. He's very spooked about the merger, and I get it. A lot of people are spooked about the merger because we've for people that have been wrestling fans for a while, a Turner related merger, quote unquote, killed WCW. But if you listen to Beach Bash on the award-winning Flagship Patreon, flagshippatreon.com, VOWretro.com, you will know that there were several reasons why WCW went out of business. And yes, the merger didn't help, but also having a product that nobody wanted to watch and nobody wanted to pay for anymore that was doing horrific ratings and losing a lot of money, that didn't help either. Oh yeah, and also it was a part of Turner, like actual line item for Turner. So when they had the opportunity to do a merger and throw things out of the window and said, all right, what the fuck is this? So this wrestling thing that loses money, loses viewership, is a joke, and has really almost never made money for us. No, we're just going to get rid of this thing. We don't need to spend money on this thing anymore. It has ongoing litigation involved with it too. If somebody wants to buy it for $2 million, great. They can have it done. All right, let's go. You know, but there's a lot of people just, and I get it. I understand, but like, it's not an apples to apples comparison between, you know, a Turner. It's not. We're talking 22 years ago. You know what I mean? Like a completely different television and media landscape at this point. We're talking about one of the most disastrous mergers in history. And I've heard a lot of people compare, oh, this one's not going good because they don't know what they're going to do with Discovery. And they don't know. Okay. Read up about the AOL Time Warner merger.
Yeah.
If you think this one's on anywhere near the level, it is taught in business school about like, hey, here's how to fuck something up as much as humanly possible. The AOL Time Warner merger. There's multiple books written about how horrific that merger is. There will not be multiple books written about this merger. I promise you.
I don't think they're good. It's not a good comp at all. And I also think, again, with a show that performs as well as Dynamite does, they'll have suitors. Whether they want them back or not, they're going to have other suitors. And let me ask you this, and maybe we can move on to something else. But let me ask you this. If you were Tony Khan and you felt like you were under pressure to deliver because you weren't so sure about these new bosses and these new bosses weren't so sure about wrestling and you weren't getting good vibes off of them and you knew CM Punk was coming back, would you announce that ahead of time?
Of course.
No, I know I would.
Yeah. I would tell you next week that TBD ain't a TBD, and that's Kenny Omega is what I would do.
Exactly. And I mean, so you have to look at the read between the lines and read the tells that they're giving you. If this was a company that felt like they were being pressured to deliver ratings above and beyond what they're delivering or to impress new bosses, you would have known CM Punk was going to be on the show last night. You know exactly when Kenny Omega is coming back. And they're not doing that. Instead, he's going the other route, using CM Punk as a surprise at the sacrifice of popping a quarter, right? But with the benefit of doing an exciting show and getting people energized and all of those sorts of things. So, you know, those are clues too. But, yeah, so All Out will take shape over the next couple weeks. I actually still haven't watched Castagnoli versus Takeshita.
Oh, you got it. It was awesome. Fucking great.
Yeah, I watched, we went out to dinner that night and took the kids out. And then I came home and fell asleep halfway through and then never got back to it. So the Battle of the Belts, that is. So I still haven't gotten around to that. I got to watch that. You know, obviously it's one of the, so what do you think? Match of the year contender for this? Or
not quite there. Not quite there for me. I thought it was really, really good. I've seen some people put it up there. I don't think it's that good, but I think it's really, really good. I mean, again, like I said, it's better than almost any Raw match I've ever seen, or at least seen in the most recent history. I mean, it was that good. I don't know. I mean, it's been a pretty good year. I could see it. I don't think I would vote for match of the year. I'm about 4.25 though. I think there's been a lot of really good stuff this year. So I don't think it'll make my top 10, but I think it's going to be, I could see it getting some down ballot votes, finishing somewhere in like the, 60s or the 70s, somewhere around there. And I'll say this, I mean, Claudio looks like he's back to, Claudio. He really feels like he's firing all cylinders right now. And Takeshita, I can give a ton of credit to that dude. I have watched a lot of his matches over the last couple of months, and he is delivering every single time I see him out there. I mean, the match that he had with Mike Bailey is going to be on my match of the year list for sure. I don't exactly know where it's going to be. But he is putting together a tremendous year. He's having one of the best excursions ever of all time. Yeah, I don't even have to qualify with much other things. I know the list is like the Great Muta, and it's a small list guys. Muda's probably number one. I think he's probably the undisputed number one in terms of excursions. So who else would be?
There's other good ones, but you'd have to go back to the territory days. There haven't been great ones in a long time because I think you would have to say Hiromu in CMLL with that series.
Of course. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
For a recent one, I'd go with that because the problem is in America, ROH was New Japan's promotional partner.
You got the fucking Tempura Boys and all that shit that sucked. And then
they did
a
poor
job. The Impact runs not good on any of them.
Right. So you had terrible promotional partners. And, with Rev Pro, that just, those guys just don't get enough attention. I think they use those guys well, but, they don't get enough attention. And we're not seeing anything on the level of Takeshita or Hiromu or Muta or somebody like that anyway. But if you go back to the territory days when guys would come in and you know who I think had a good one? I think Go Shiozaki when he was doing ROH and FIP.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
He was good. He wasn't this good.
Morishima, was that technically an excursion or that was just kind of a time away? I don't either. Yeah, that was just time away.
I don't consider that one an excursion. Some people might differ.
Depending on how you define that. If you think that is an excursion, then that one counts for sure. That's another one. But but wasn't he just working both? He wasn't flying back. I agree. I don't think it should count. I really don't think it should count.
So, but Takeshita, he's gonna fuck around and get in the Wrestler of the Year talk.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, as he should.
He's been that good. He's, if it's Wrestler of the Year by non-observer, if it's most outstanding in observer definition and Wrestler of the Year by everyone else's definition, he's in that conversation. Now, he's not in the Flair Thez MVP conversation, but he's without question in a bell-to-bell Wrestler of the Year conversation. He has to be at this point. So he's genuinely been that great. And I haven't even seen this Claudio Castagnoli match. Every other match I've seen of his, though, that wasn't an AEW squash or against a prelim wrestler has been like notebook material. All of them. That's like, what? Every match he has, like, it starts at 4 stars. Like, the guy's he's been so insanely good. So, I definitely got to check that. This was interesting, too. This is interesting, too, where so Battle of the Belts did a terrible number, right?
Yeah, it was like 427,000 total viewers or something like that.
Yeah, and the lowest demo that any of the three have done. But here's what's weird. When they announced that match, they sold 2,000 tickets in like 7 days. So the match sold tickets, but didn't draw on TV. That's kind of weird, right? Like that doesn't make sense. I don't know if I've ever seen a match. Now, look, I'm not trying to tell you that it filled up Madison Square Garden, but after they announced that match, they sold like 2,000 tickets in the next week, and then and then nobody watched it. So I don't know. I thought that was notable too, but and that's the other thing about AEW. They keep filling buildings.
Yeah, they keep selling tickets. I was going to bring that up when we were talking about the comparison to WCW. At the end, WCW was giving away tickets left. They couldn't get anybody to buy tickets to go to their show. They couldn't get anybody to buy pay-per-views. They couldn't get anybody to watch their show. AEW has a lot of people watching their show. People buy their pay-per-views and people buy tickets to watch their show. So I feel like they're a little bit different comparisons. Other than being wrestling and being, on a Turner network, that's pretty much where the comparisons end.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of embarrassing that we shouldn't even.
We shouldn't acknowledge it.
Those comparisons are just outlandish. They're ridiculous.
All right. So anything else AEW wise? Oh, let's talk about this Trios tournament. So at All Out, they're going to conclude this Trios Championship tournament. We have a new Trios Championships, of course. I don't think we've mentioned that on this show, but people probably know that by now. The brackets. Well, one side of the bracket looks fucking great, and the other side, well. The other side is the other side of a bracket. We have on the one side of the bracket, the Death Triangle, Pac, Penta, and Phoenix, and they're going to face in the first round Will Ospreay, Mark Davis, and Kyle Fletcher. How fucking great is that match going to be?
That's a nice surprise, right?
Out of the gates, you get Pac, Penta, and Phoenix versus Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. Holy shit.
How about Penta and Phoenix in a match with the New Japan guys?
Yeah. Ooh, you're right.
When just a few weeks ago after being
I didn't even nice catch. I didn't even put two and two together with that. Nice job.
So it's like, hold on a second. Forbidden Door got fucking blown up in a lot of ways.
CMLL or whatever. I hope New Japan told these guys, just shut up. We're done.
It makes you wonder what changed in this short amount of time, because we didn't get Will Ospreay Andrade because of that.
Right.
Now, Will Ospreay Orange Cassidy ended up being a match of the year contender and a great match, and I'm glad we got it. I would have liked to have seen Will Ospreay versus Andrade, okay? And I would have liked to have seen Forbidden Door have far less restrictions in terms of how the card was put together. And now a month later, we're like not worried about it, and it's okay. Like, what's happening here? Did someone tell someone to fuck off? Or what's happening? This immediately raised my eyebrow.
Yeah, good catch. I did not notice that at first, but that's a nice little touch there. And well, I guess this is going to kind of continue with this next match. They just really said, fuck who, screw this relationship. We don't give a shit. Because you got Andrade, Roosh, and Dragon Lee versus the Young Bucks and TBD. Now, obviously, these are AAA guys, so this is a little bit easier. This kind of work. But yeah, it's still...
see, to me at this point, if it's not Kenny Omega, I think that'll get the wrong kind of heat.
What if it's Kota Ibushi?
I think that might be the one suitable replacement.
Because I don't know if you saw, and it's Kota Ibushi's Twitter account, so you always have to take it with a grain of salt. But he was doing some weird tweeting. I don't trust any of the translations at this point, but I do know that AEW came up a bunch of times, and he was saying like, when I go to AEW, it will be beautiful, or something like that. The
lovers will return, and all
yeah,
this shit.
right. He's like, I will be at AEW for a short time, and it will be beautiful, and the lovers will return for a short time, and it's like, all right, okay, I don't know. But again, who the fuck knows with that guy's Twitter account? But he is another potential fun name that you could put in there. I would probably expect it to be Omega, but if it's not Omega, it's got to be someone like a Kota Ibushi. It cannot be
Brandon Cutler.
Yeah, it cannot be Brandon Cutler. That would not go well.
Look, all I know is the last time I checked in on the Ibushi thing, what I was told and what I reported was New Japan's tact moving forward was going to be, he's calmed down, he's not saying anything stupid, we are going to quietly allow his contract to run out, and we are going to wash our hands of him. Now, if you've paid attention in the ensuing 2 months or whatever it's been since I wrote that, you really haven't heard a peep from either side.
No.
So that seems to be the way they're choosing to handle it.
Another great guess by you, Joe. Nice job.
Well, I'm very good at that. So I feel like I don't think his contract's up. I mean, I don't even know who I could ask when it comes to that, but I don't think his contract is up. But here's the thing. If Tony Khan was thinking outside the box and asked New Japan if he could use him, maybe New Japan said, all right, you know what? Fuck it. Who cares? It'll keep Ibushi happy.
Yeah. If that's something he wants to do, then sure. Why? We don't care.
It'll make Tony Khan happy. It'll make it easier for us to ask for half his roster for next year's G1. I could see them approving that.
Sure.
So I don't think he necessarily has to have had parted ways with New Japan for him to come into AEW. So that's something to think about too. But obviously, look, the match is next week. I think it has to be Omega. But you're right. I think the only person maybe on this earth that it could be where the fans won't shit on it is maybe Kota Ibushi. But again, that match is going to be phenomenal.
I mean, it could be. Whoever that is, whoever the other guy is, unless it is Brandon Cutler. Even if it is Brandon Cutler, I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, Andrade, Roosh, Dragon Lee versus the Young Bucks, and whoever. It sounds like it's going to be pretty great. So that side of the bracket.
Listen, Tone, get those claws into Dragon Lee. Get those claws into Dragon Lee. You use them on the pay-per-view.
And get his overdubbed New Japan music, please.
Oh, absolutely.
Please.
Yeah. He let him wrestle his brother on the ROH pay-per-view, threw him a bone there. He's got him here. I want to see Dragon Lee versus Phoenix. I mean, that's a match I want to see on a big stage, and that's pretty close to reality because those two units are feuding with each other. Like you could get Dragon Lee versus Phoenix on a fucking Dynamite or something.
Doors have been, screw doors. Doors are stupid. Open them all.
I think I asked you this once before. Who you prefer, Dragon Lee or Phoenix?
Phoenix.
For Phoenix?
Yeah, I like Dragon Lee, but I think I prefer Phoenix. I saw too many live Phoenix matches in AAW, singles matches that he did. I think he can be a phenomenal singles guy.
Dragon Lee, could he wear smaller tights? Is that possible?
No, he could really, unless he comes out in a thong. Not really. No, that man, you get nothing left to the imagination on one Dragon Lee. And hey, look, if I looked like that, I probably would wear that too. So
it's like he reminds me of like golden era Dragon Gate, where like Naruki Doi would wear like the tiniest tights, and Yamato would wear like no tight. Like
you know what?
He's a tiny tights guy. He's a tiny tights guy.
Yeah, well, sure. If I looked like that, I'd wear tiny tights all the time too. But I don't. So I don't wear that. But so that is one side of the bracket, and someone will win. One team will win both of those matches, and then like no matter what that next match is, it's gonna fucking rock as well, right?
Oh yeah, like the winners of those two matches. I mean, How good were Ospreay and Aussie Open in their 6-mans?
Oh yeah,
the Build the Forbidden Door. I mean, and they won over the crowds and everything, and Aussie Open were legitimately people that I think a lot of people didn't know who they were. Not this pretend shit where nobody knows who fucking Tanahashi is. Like, I don't think people knew who Mark Davis was, and they won those crowds over with those TV matches. So, yeah, any combination of those winners, and obviously the Bucks are going to win. Who do you think will win the other one? Do you think? Ospreay and those two guys might only be in for a week.
Yeah, so, I would imagine it's Death Triangle versus the Bucks team.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Poor Kyle Fletcher going to eat another L. Right?
Well, yeah.
He's that's his. He's the L eater
he is the L eater, unfortunately,
in AEW. The other side.
And then the other side of the bracket. So that side, you're like, whoa, this is going to be an all-time great tournament. And it still might be an all-time great tournament, but hey, you know what? Every tournament needs some lower seeds, some people that don't quite match up. But the other side of the bracket is Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews versus the Dark Order, Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and or Preston Vance.
Ugh. See, I didn't see
Read those names. The Dark Order, when you just got done, I know you're like the number one Dark Order hater, and I'm not exactly on their side either. Read the names that we just mentioned: Pac, Penta, Phoenix, Will Ospreay, Mark Davis, Kyle Fletcher, Andrade, Roosh, Dragon Lee, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and then either Kota Ibushi or Kenny Omega. Okay, that's basically half of your top 50 list if you're making a top 50 wrestlers in the world list, right?
Yeah.
And now you have to read Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and or Preston Vance.
Yeah, I mean,
just dorks.
Everyone knows I hate the Dark Order. I'm just going to leave it at that. Silver can go. I mean, I'm not going to tell you the guy can't go, but he's so off-putting. Evil Uno just looks like a shindy dork. I can't.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it's hard.
He don't belong on Major League TV. Regardless of what you think of his work. Alex Reynolds is the jaggiest jag that ever jagged. And, Vance, I guess he's a prospect because of his size and his look, and that might end up being a good match, but you're right. Like, you read those names and you're like, well, one thing doesn't fit the other here.
And then, the Trust Busters, Arya Davari, Parker Bordeaux, and Slim J. I love, if I had told you 3 years ago, Joe, two years ago, I don't think we knew who Parker Bordeaux was 3 years ago. If I told you 2 years ago, hey, Joe, there's going to be a team in AEW, and it's going to be Arya Davari, Parker Bordeaux, and Slim J. Yes, that's Slim J. Would you ever in a million years believe me?
You can't discount anything in wrestling. This is like
these three men, Slim J. Like, what would have ever brought together Parker Bordeaux and Slim J?
Did you see the Rampage spoilers or no?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay, I did not. So don't spoil it for me. But there's like a chance Sonny Kiss could be added to this.
Yes.
Unless he just got squashed in the match. I don't know, because again, I didn't see the spoilers. But they're doing a storyline with Sonny Kiss on top of that, so you could throw that in there too. It's just bizarre. You can't write anything off in wrestling. It's crazy. I will say this: Parker Bordeaux is being used the way he should be used here, as opposed to the way he was being used in NXT 2.0, where he was like an escaped convict who was under the spell of
whatever it was. Was he an escaped convict? I guess he kind of was. He was wearing like a convict suit, and he was bald, and he made weird faces. Now he just looks like a badass and makes weird faces, which is probably the better route for him.
now he's doing what he should be doing. He was Josie's janitor or something. I don't know what he was in NXT. He was either a janitor, or a garbage man, or an escaped convict.
Yeah, he was a Duke the Dumpster Drosy or an escape or Nails. Yeah. So you got Ari Daivari, Parker Bordeaux, Slim J, and they're facing the Best Friends. So.
Yeah, I mean, I hate Best Friends, but I like Trent, and I like each of them. I don't like them as a collective.
I'm with you. I agree. I like Chuck Taylor a lot. I like Trent a lot. I like Orange Cassidy a lot now. But them together is just, there's a certain dorkness to it. But it's over, and people like it, and I get it. But it's, again, it does feel like all three of them have more potential than they do together, but whatever.
I feel like when it comes to the Trust Busters, I'm going to give that every chance. I mean, it's bizarre on paper, but Ari Daivari is basically doing the same character he was doing at the end of 205 Live when me and Joe Gagney were the only people watching, like this rich playboy kind of deal. And his work really did improve, and he became a meme on the TV reviews I would do, or at any mention of Ari Daivari, I would play his little theme song. So I was into the Ari Daivari at one point, but I'll give this a chance. It's something different. I don't know why everyone just automatically shits on it. I know it looks weird on paper, and maybe it'll suck, but Ari Daivari, I think, is a guy. I know you're down on him. You're just over there cringing as I say this, but because you've seen a lot of him on the indies. That's the thing.
He's fine. Like he's good in like a if he's gonna be a mouthpiece, I think that's a good role for him. If he's like the dork of the team, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like he's fine in that role. That's fine.
I could point you to some nifty little 8-minute 205 Live matches you'll never watch them.
Make that list for me, Joe, please. Tonight, if you can, make that list so I can watch them tomorrow right away. So
that'll be on the bottom of your priority list, and you'll never watch them. But I don't know. So they're probably just going to lose anyway. They're going
to lose in 3 minutes, and then they're going to be back on Dark, and you're not going to. Yeah, they're just a lost post. The Best Friends are going to beat them. As far as the Dark Order versus the other Dark dudes, I have no fucking clue what those guys, the Malachi Black Brody. I imagine they beat the Dark Order. Then you get the Black King Matthews versus the Best Friends, and that. Yeah, I don't know. But either way, like I think it's not going to take long for that side of the bracket to kind of get okay, and the other side of the bracket, everything you're going to get in that side is going to be great. So
I think you're getting House of Black versus Death Triangle in the final. And I think conspicuous by absence is Adam Cole and Red Dragon, and they're going to cost the Bucks a match at some point in this tournament.
There you go.
How about that?
I like it, yeah. Because you need a way for those guys to lose, and you need a way to kind of build them up for something all out, and I think that's probably a good way to do it. So
because they don't have – I thought Cole and Red Dragon would be on the other side. And I'm glad they're not.
Is O'Reilly still okay? Well, I guess he came out. Yeah, I guess he's fine now, right?
I just figured I thought after last week that was going to be your tournament final, but they're not even in the tournament. So I think you're just going to get some kind of match between those two groups at All Out. And I think the final of the tournament is going to be House of Black versus Death Triangle, since they've kind of been programmed together anyway. I mean, they kind of moved Death Triangle into a feud with Los Ingobernables. But this is AEW, where when feuds end, they still simmering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like you're not supposed to remember that Death Triangle and House of Black had this feud going. So that would be also make sense as a final. So I think Death Triangle will win the tournament. I think they'll beat the New Japan guys who will just be in for a week. They'll beat their current rivals in the semi, and then they'll beat their old rivals in the final.
So that's the finals, of course, will be at All Out, as we said. So we know a little bit of what's going on at All Out. I think everything else will kind of come together. It's sneaking up pretty quickly. I did see some people be like, it's kind of early to bring Punk back, but it's like, now you got to get going. You know what I mean? Like you're not that far away from this thing happening. I mean, it's we have one. How many more Dynamites? What, 3? Yeah, 3 more Dynamites, right? That's it.
Yes,
and you're there. There's All Out. So yeah, shit, you got to get going. I think, like you said, I think just Punk and Mox is going to be enough to probably sell a bunch of, but you need to make this an overall good card, and I think they will. But yeah, it's going to take a little bit of getting to it over the next 3 weeks.
The only thing is if Cole and or O'Reilly can't wrestle by All Out,
right?
Then you may as well have the Bucks and Omega win. So it's good that I can't. It's good that you can't
I like
figure it out.
Yeah, that's good. That's how a tournament should probably go. That's how a good wrestling company is booked, where you don't exactly know how everything's going to play out. That's good. But that was cool. It was obviously cool to see Punk back too. He was about to have his foot amputated last week, but now he's fine. So you get those reports from Comic-Con where, oh my God, Punk looks terrible.
He worked everyone.
Oh, this is unbelievable, Joe. These wrestlers are over-exaggerating and in some cases even faking injuries. I just won't be a part of that. I'm not going to be a part of this sham of a business where this wrestler is going to walk with a limp, and I'm supposed to believe that this man might be exaggerating or flat out faking that he's hurt. I can't be a part of that.
Walk with a limp, complain how much it hurts, and be grumpy to everyone. Which is what he did.
I was going to say, not that far off from what Punk probably would have done anyways. But
yeah, could you imagine the bitch sessions that Punk and FTR Bald have with one another? Could you even imagine those two? Yes. Just complaining about everything somewhere in a locker room.
I love it. As a man who complains about a lot of stuff, I would love it.
I am not stunned that those two get along. That's all I'm going to say. I mean... they're just
guys be great to sit at an airport with, you know what I mean? Just everything bothering them, everybody annoying them. Why is this guy this close? That person's coughing.
Bald, he is just constantly aggrieved. He's constantly aggrieved about something.
That's why I like him more and more. I'm starting to like him a lot.
It's just, it's one thing after another. Every time he talks, it's some melodramatic fucking speech about something it's just, geez, guy, have a beer and watch a game, for God's sake. Relax. It's unbelievable. All right, so that is AEW.
Yeah, that's AEW. We are going to get to New Japan and 01, NWA, all that other stuff. Also, Impact Wrestling. I forgot to mention them. They have a weekend coming up in Chicago. I'm going to one of the shows, so we'll talk about that in a bit. But do want to let you know about FlagshipPatreon.com. We have mentioned it a few times. That, of course, is our Patreon tier. It's extra bonus Joe and Rich content for $5 or $10. You can get a ton of stuff. $10 gets you live episodes of the Flagship. So if you're listening to this on the free podcast app, you can listen to it a day in advance. You can listen to it live. You can get all that sort of stuff for the $10 tier. Also, anytime we do instant reaction shows, instant reaction lives, you're going to get all of those on the $10 tier as well. All Out coming up, obviously, next month. We are going to do an instant reaction live for that. Those ones are always weird because I'm going to that show, so that one won't be it'll be live, but it'll be like an hour or so after the show, but we'll make it work anyway. We did for last year's All Out, but those are always huge shows. Those are always great ones. But yeah, everything we ever do live is all available on that $10 tier. Also, any of the written content that we do, and you have done a lot of that stuff as of late. I've been slacking a little bit on the written content, hopefully getting back to at it in the next few days, but you've been doing random TV reviews. We both did really, really well-received articles on Vince McMahon. But yeah, there's a lot available on that $10 tier. Like the live stuff, like I said, Instant Reaction, Flagship Lives, as well as all of our written content, all available on the $10 tier. The $5 tier gets you all of our bonus audio, including the Thursday Dynamite reviews, which I mentioned. So every single week, you review Dynamite. Right now, it gets you all of the G1 Climax reviews. Every single night you have gotten there, you've reviewed them all. Just basically about, like a couple hours after the shows go on live. It's not very long after that you're getting an extensive review, spoiler-free recommendations at the beginning of every episode as well for the G1 Climax, and as well as all the retro stuff we do, including I'm finishing up the Beach Bash series right now, where I review each and every WCW Beach Blast and WCW Bash at the Beach main event. I'm just about done with the year 2000. That'll be up by the time most of you guys listen to this. And the year 2000 has a lot of fun stuff. It's got Vince Russo working himself into a shoot and getting Hulk Hogan's pissed at him and he's suing him and all that sort of stuff. It had 1999, which just infuriated me to no end because WCW 1999 infuriates me to no end. And a lot of other retro stuff is on there. Everything that we've ever done for VOWretro.com, which is where we have our entire hub of all of our retro content, is also available on that $5 tier. So you get plenty of bonus audio for the $5 tier. $10 tier gets you live stuff and written stuff. Great value on all that sort of both tiers. Just tremendous value, especially these last couple months. We've just put a ton of stuff on there for people. But anything that you're particularly proud of over the last couple weeks on the Patreon?
I just think the written TV reviews that I'm doing on that $10 tier, the feedback I'm getting is tremendous. So I would think that people, if they subscribe to read that, would probably really enjoy it. Most of the reviews end up turning into essays or columns more so than these aren't
you're saying, all right, so then Lash Legend came out and then she had a match and then she did this and then I give it 2 stars. Like, yeah, it's more of like a column about the show or some big picture topic from the show that you've then decided to read about. Not necessarily, hey, here's what happened in each match. Like, because that'd be boring and stupid and nobody wants to read that.
I do very little in the way of move by move and just recapping the show. I do very little in the way of that. I do a little bit of that when it comes to like shows like NXT Level Up. And the reason I do is because that's firmly like a low-level developmental show, and I think people are interested in the development of the wrestlers. Sure. So when it comes to shows like that, I do more in the way of breaking down the matches themselves and giving my assessment of what I think of the talent. But when it comes to Rampage, which I pretty much do every week, and when it comes to, when I do Impact or if I do, some of the bigger shows, it's more big picture thoughts that I talk about. And I turn it into a column or an essay. And I think that's just more interesting than just, you could read straight reviews of these shows anywhere. And quite frankly, I'd be bored writing something like that. So, it's if you enjoy my writing, if you enjoy my audio, if you enjoy my perspective on things, I think you'd really like those. I do about 1 per week. There'll probably be about 3 to 5 of them per month. It's not like I do them on a certain day of the week and they're done exactly once a week. But I do pump out about 1 per week. And once G1 is over, that'll open up some things too. I think there's 3 more G1 daily shows. I still been finding time to do everything else with the G1, but when the G1's over, that'll clear my slate as well. People keep asking about daily N1 victory audio, and I'm not saying I'm not going to do it, but I'm probably not going to do it. But I'll make a final decision because the tournament did start. Rich, did you see that Jack Morris defeated Kaito Kiyomiya?
I did see that Jack Morris got a win. I went to go look at the N1 standings. I saw Fujita stack up. It was Go Shiozaki, right, that he beat in the first round. I was like, oh boy, here we go. Who else won in the first round? I looked at said Jack Morris : 2, and I went, whoa, hold on a minute. How did Jack Morris, who I haven't heard of ever until a couple weeks ago, who did he beat? And then I found out he beat Kaito Kiyomiya. So
Kaito Kiyomiya, who has all that momentum from the Muto win.
Well, so get it back in this N1.
Yeah,
he's got a couple weeks. He's got a couple weeks to get it back with this new.
Yeah, well, if you have a chance to put Jack Morris over,
you gotta put Jack Morris.
You got to put Jack Morris over. But yeah, anyway, the written TV reviews. There's a new Jovember up. Jovember's now 20 or 21 shows deep. So if you've been waiting to binge that, now's probably a good time to do that. I have a couple other Jovembers that just need a couple finishing touches and to be sent off to Andrew Rich, and then they'll be up. So the pace is picking up a little bit with that. And Jovember's about to get real interesting because we're coming to the end of the Eddie Gilbert era and the beginning of the Paul Heyman era. So the next few shows will cover the infamous Ultra Class show where Eddie Gilbert quit. And all of the drama between Eddie Gilbert and Todd Gordon and Paul Heyman taking over, and Gilbert feeling like Heyman stabbed him in the back, and because they were very tight before then. Heyman was only there because Gilbert brought him in, and all the crazy rumors of Gilbert making a pass at Todd Gordon's wife, which probably is kind of believable,
very believable, yes.
And Eddie Gilbert being upset that Gordon decided to join the NWA. That was the real breaking point. I don't want to give everything away, but things are about to get real crazy on Jovember for the next few episodes. And I'm debating doing an entire show strictly on Eddie Gilbert. I think he deserves it, and his legacy and all that, and everything that goes into that. So that'll be coming up soon. The last Jovember, I discovered a match that I hadn't previously ever thought about all that much that I now feel like is one of the most influential matches of the entire 1990s. I'm not going to tell you what that match is.
No, you got to listen and find out. I wasn't going to tell anybody either. You got to listen and find out.
Yeah, but there's a match that I review on the latest Jovember where I watched it, and I watched the crowd react to it, and I listened to Paulie Dangerously on commentary basically break character, reacting to the match, and I thought to myself, holy shit, this might be the match that sparked the direction. This might be the one. So if you want to know what that mystery match is, it's on the latest Jovember to remember. But listen to all of them in order. Absolutely. You'll get much more out of it.
Yeah. You do need to listen to them all in order. It's well worth it. I'd say most of our series, we do a good job of making sure it's all in order. And I did forget to mention as well Goldberg. I have a series called Goldberg 173 and 1. Episode 1 got rave reviews from people. Big kind of audio documentary style thing all about Goldberg's streak, Goldberg's, winning of the WCW title, and now we're going to get into the bad stuff. The first episode was all about, hey, they're doing great stuff. Goldberg's out there and he's beating all these guys. He beat this guy, he beat that guy, he beat this guy, he beat that guy. Then we get into, of course, why they decided to hotshot Hogan versus Goldberg on that episode of Nitro. Discovered something interesting about that as well. Not necessarily maybe the reason a lot of people think it was. Also a little bit of the politicking behind making that match happen on such short notice and who benefited most from it. And now after that, and you're going to get a new episode hopefully in the next week or so. Those take a little bit of time because a lot of editing, a lot of research that goes into them. I'm grabbing clips from Nitros and grabbing clips from shoot interviews and that sort of stuff. But the next one gets into the fumbling of it because they hotshot Goldberg to the title and then they have no fucking idea what to do with him afterwards. So we'll touch on that. We'll touch on how everything kind of went wrong with Goldberg. But that is going to be a series that is going to be basically monthly until December. We're going to do it in real time as it happened, all leading up to Goldberg facing Kevin Nash at Starrcade and losing the streak and losing his title. So we're going to kind of do that month by month, but that is also available on the $5 tier. So that's a shitload of stuff you're going to get for either $5 or $10 over at flagshippatreon.com, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling or voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon. Okay.
All right, let's do G1. I want to ask you a question first because I just got really mad at something.
Okay, what do you got?
We just got a comment on the Patreon page from one of my G1 audios.
Okay.
Before I tell you what the comment was, when we did our G1 predictions, when Suit Williams called into the show, do you recall this a few weeks ago?
Of course, yeah.
When the topic of the Great O'Khan came up, what did I say about the Great O'Khan? Do you remember?
I think you said that you said it's coming. The push is coming at some point very soon for him. It's not going to be right now, but it's going to be very soon.
Okay. That's essentially what I said in a nutshell.
It's not going to be this G1, but it's coming.
Right. And I compared him to when Shibata and Ibushi and all those guys, everybody thought they would get pushed. And
yes. Every year, everybody predicts Shibata was going to get 11 points. And it never quite happened. And you said it's not going to happen in this G1 for O'Khan, but it's coming. The push for him is coming.
Okay. So I'm not going crazy. I said that, right?
You said that. I believe so. I said that's how I remember it, at least.
I have someone sending comments on the Patreon page saying that I am walking back the idea that O'Khan is going to get pushed based on his performance in this G1. I told people he wasn't going to do well in this G1. I said that.
I believe you
did.
It's
on tape. It's on tape. I said he's the new guy that you're going to be waiting around for years, and the push is going to come 2 years after you think it's coming. Like all of those other dudes, Shibata, Ibushi. I know that's what I said.
Right, New Japan is a glacial pace for their pushes. So you can sense that a guy's going to get pushed and then set the timer for like 2 or 3 years after that.
Sonata was another one. Okay, so no, I am not walking back his push. Are you crazy? This is exactly what I said. He's right where I thought he would finish. Fucking last. Jeez, that angered me. I just had to make sure I wasn't crazy, Rich.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, somebody can go and listen back, but I'm almost positive that was exactly your take, is that he is similar to, you mentioned that Shibata and those sort of guys, where every year everybody thinks, all right, this is the year that, Great O'Khan's going to, win his block, and it's never quite the year that you think it's going to be. It's going to come at some point, but it's not this year, for sure.
Not yet. Jeez, that's what I said. They're always trying to get us, Rich.
They're always trying to get you. Yeah, those comments. They're always trying to, hey, you got this wrong. You got that wrong.
You're never going to get me. They've been trying to get me for 10 years. They're never going to get me, and you're not going to get me. All right, so You want to do this G1?
Yeah, let's do the G1. So let's so 5 more shows to go. Night 16 starts up again on the 13th, so that is Saturday. We're recording this on the 11th. Night 17 on the 14th. Night 18 is all block matches on August 16th. The semifinals are going to be August 17th, and then the finals are August 18th. So as we said, everything is going to wrap up in about a week now. 5 more shows to go. So now one of your favorite yearly traditions, Joe and Rich, stumble through G1 match scenarios and do some G1 math and all that sort of stuff. So,
whoa. There's no stumbling. This is easy.
You got this one? You got this? So you've been studying it probably a little bit more than me. You're doing the daily auto. So you got this all ready to go, right? So I'll set you up and you will be able to give me the exact scenarios for each of these men.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For each block, yeah.
Let's do it. So A block. There are 4 men still technically alive in the A block. Okada has 8 points. Archer and Jonah are tied with 6 points. And Jeff Cobb has 4 points.
Right, but Cobb has 2 matches left.
Right. So Cobb can get there.
Yeah. He can get to 8. Okay? And if everyone ties at 8, if Cobb beats Yano and Lawler, and Jonah beats Fale, and Archer beats Okada, all 4 men would have 8. And then they would they would compare their records against one another, and it would be Jeff Cobb versus Jonah in a playoff match to determine who goes through. Now, are they going to do that? Absolutely not. They're not doing playoff matches. They're not doing wacky fucking tiebreaker bullshit.
I think there's one block where they could, maybe. We'll see.
Well, you know what? If they do shock all of us and do that, I just told you what needs to happen.
I don't think it'll be this block. I don't think it'll be this block where they do it. There is a block where I think they're going to maybe get a little cute, but it's not this block.
All right. So technically, yes. Okay. Jonah and Cobb somehow with 4 points is still alive, but it would require the 4-way tie. And here's how you know they're not going to do that. Okay. Cobb wins his 2 matches. And then if Jonah beats Fale in on the 16th, basically that eliminates Archer and Okada, because Okada can win and get to 10.
Stumbling.
But it eliminates Archer because even if he wins, it's a 4-way tie and he's out. They're not going to do that. Okay. They're going to have Okada and Archer be for everything. So, so Jonah is probably, he doesn't have to lose to Fale because Archer beat Jonah and he will have beaten Okada if there's a 3-way tie. So, but Cobb is probably going to lose to either Yano or Lawler because they're not going to do the 4-way tie. So,
at this point, are you assuming that Okada just goes through? His path is the easiest.
Okada is hitting Lance Archer with a Rainmaker and pinning him in the center of the ring.
Right. So for all this, we're giving you every scenario, but like Okada's one this block. So.
Right. But if you want to know how they advance, if Archer beats Okada and Jeff Cobb loses at least 1 match, Archer goes through. Okay? So that's Archer's path. Beat Okada, Jeff Cobb loses at least one of his other matches. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what Jonah does from there. Okay? For Jonah to go through, you need the 4-way tie, and then Jonah
you need a lot of shit. Yeah,
and then Jonah has to beat Cobb in the playoff. For Cobb to go through, you need the 4-way tie, and then Cobb has to beat Jonah in the playoff. The reason Jonah and Cobb would advance to the playoff is because in the 4-way tie, they would be the ones that are 2-1 versus the other 3. Okada and Archer would be 1-2 versus the other 3. I think. Let's just move on.
Okada's hitting that Rainmaker.
Yeah, Okada's going through.
B block, a lot easier here. You got 2 guys. Jay White and Tama Tonga are the only ones, I think, still in play. Is that correct?
All right, so hold on. It would actually be Archer and Jonah that would be the ones that are 2.
You're good. You're not stumbling. You got it. Yeah.
I'm doing great. Archer and Jonah would be the ones that would be 2-1 in the 4-way tie, not Jonah and Cobb. So just to clear that up.
There it is. All right. So again, B block is nice and easy. Night 18, B block singles match, Tama Tonga versus Jay White. Win, go through.
Yeah, B block, everyone's eliminated right this second with the exception of Jay White and Tama Tonga.
Right, who are facing each other on the 18th, or on the
final night.
On the final night, yeah. Night 18 on the 16th.
The 16th. In fact, the Jay White Taichi match coming up on the 13th is meaningless. It does not matter if Taichi wins that. In fact, if Jay White is still sick and if they keep him away because they suspect they're afraid he might have COVID or whatever, he could forfeit that match against Taichi and nothing changes. It still comes down to Jay White and Tama Tonga for the entire block on the 16th. So B block only one of the remaining 4 matches matters at all.
They dodged a bullet too. God, imagine if they were built up some weird tricky scenario where Jay White had to beat Taichi or whatever, and you have this thing where he's sick or he can't quite. Yeah. They're not sure. Like they got smart by saying, you know what? Who cares if there's a worthless match in between? We want to build to whatever this match is going to be. They didn't get too cute, and it bailed them out because if they were cute during this, you could have some issues where Jay White's got to wheel himself out there and just figure something out because you have him forfeit. Then it could have had all sorts of. But they made it not cute. They just said, all right, the match that's going to matter is the match on the final night. Jay White versus Tama Tonga, Bullet Club versus ex-Bullet Club. It just works perfectly. So I'm glad they just went as basic as they could with the B block. We know who it is. We know what the match is. That's perfect.
And I think Tama Tonga's winning that match.
That's interesting. Hey, and my pick. Did I pick Tama Tonga when Suit Williams?
Just say you did.
I did. I did. I was setting you up to say, yes, Rich, you were right. You did pick Tama Tonga because I did. I will never get the credit for it. Still attribute it to you or something, but I did. I picked Tama Tonga.
Don't count your chickens. I mean, he still has to win, but
he's here. He's in the mix.
No, I think it makes too much sense. I mean, it pays off the feud.
I was right about Jason Lee, and I'm right about Tama Tonga. So you know what?
He could lose to Okada anyway. So yeah, I think Tama Tonga will probably.
One of these days, people are going to give me credit for stuff. But anyway, C block. Hey, I'm not bitter at all. Me and FTR balled there. It's good. All right, C block.
Yeah.
Zack Sabre Jr. 8 points. He's on top of the block. Then Goto, Tanahashi.
Controls his own destiny.
Then Goto, Tanahashi, and Naito all deadlocked at 6 points apiece. How do you break this one, Joe?
All right, the other 3 guys are out. Hanare, Kenta, and
Evil.
So Naito and Sabre face each other on the last night. So Naito is 2 points behind Sabre, but he gets a chance. He gets a crack at him head to head. But Naito already lost to Tanahashi and Goto. So Tanahashi would have to lose to Kenta on the 14th, and Goto has to lose to Evil on the 16th in order for Naito to have the winner take all versus Sabre, because he loses tiebreakers to both of those guys, because he lost to both Tanahashi and Goto. So if there's if this, even if he beats Sabre, okay, and all 4 of those guys finish at 8, he's on the outside looking in because he's 1 and 2 versus the other 3 because he lost to Tanahashi and Goto. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So it's like I said at the start. I think all along Kenta was going to knock out Tanahashi on the 14th. That match isn't even on the final night. They had the match at Wrestle Kingdom that Tanahashi won. So this is a perfect spot for Kenta, who's already eliminated, to play spoiler and knock out Tanahashi. I also think Evil is going to knock out Goto earlier in the night on the 16th to get him out of the way, and then it's going to come down to Naito and Zack Sabre Jr., which will either be the main event or the semi-main event. That's going to be one of the last matches on the show, and that's going to determine the block.
There you go. What would you guess is the result of this C block? Because I could see
Naito.
A few different ways playing out. You see Naito doing it?
Yeah.
I kind of do as well. There's a part of me but the Zack Sabre Jr., that's just too clean for him, and it doesn't feel like it does feel like Naito for me too. A lot of people have been saying, Naito and Okada feels like the either to finish it here or do it at Wrestle Kingdom. I'm with you. I think Naito comes through in the C block. But then we have, Joe, the D block, where the whole block is still alive, and it is not impossible. It is improbable, but it is not impossible that the entire block ties, and I believe they just do a Rambo if the entire block ties, because there's no way to break it, and goddamn am I hoping for the D block Rambo.
All right, I'll tell you what has to happen.
Do it. For the D block Rambo?
Yeah.
Do it, please. Oh, and by the way, the top of the block is Yujiro and David Finlay, as we all predicted. Tied with 6 points.
Yujiro's in first place because he beat Finlay head to head.
Right, all right. So Yujiro with tiebreakers. If the G1 ended right now, if New Japan just said, hey, look, everyone has COVID, the G1 is done, Yujiro Takahashi, you're D block winner. So congratulations.
Yujiro's the block winner. Correct. Right. All right. So if the following happens, Yoshihashi loses to Will Ospreay on the 13th.
It's definitely possible.
Yoshihashi defeats Finlay on the 14th.
Not impossible.
That completes Yoshihashi's tournament with 6.
Yep.
That completes David Finlay's tournament with 6. At that point, if Shingo Takagi defeats Yujiro on the 13th,
very probable.
That leaves Yujiro with 6. And then if Shingo loses to Phantasmo on the 16th,
ooh,
and Juice Robinson defeats Will Ospreay on the 16th, all 7 men in the block will finish with 6 points. They all, obviously, if they all have 6 points, they all have the same record against one another, obviously, because they will all be 3-3. And it will necessitate some sort of 7-way match to determine the winner of the block.
We got to do it. We got to. Why not? I would say, honestly, I mean, it sucks because Will's going to have to eat a lot of L's to make it happen.
Just one. Just to Juice.
I thought you said he had to lose 2.
No, he has to beat Yoshihashi.
Oh, beat Yoshihashi. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we're cruising then, man. We're good.
So you only need 5 outcomes. And
none of them were impossible. Like, none of them that you said really... I think Shingo losing to Phantasma was the one that I was like, that's a little...
That's the biggest upset, and they've been building that match, though, in a weird way. They've been cutting promos on each other.
I think they got to do it. Why not? You have this silly block format. You got the 4 blocks. You haven't booked anybody to be monumentally better than anybody else in this deal. I say do it. You got this point. If they hadn't planned on doing it, you're so close to doing it. Just fucking do it.
Yeah. They're not going to do it.
Come on.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I mean, Will Ospreay's beating Yoshihashi, and then he's beating Juice, and he's going to win the block with 8 points. Oh, man. I mean, that's, I mean,
that's probably what's going to happen. But come on. There's so much...
So Finlay loses...
You can win a 7-way match. That's fine.
So Will beats Yoshihashi on the 13th. Finlay loses to Yoshihashi on the 14th because Finlay can't get to 8 because he beat Will. Okay? So that's how those 2 matches are going to go. Shingo, I think, is going to lose to Phantasmo. The only thing is if you think Shingo is going to win the block. Okay? Shingo, if he beats Yujiro and Phantasmo, he goes to 8 and it knocks out Yujiro.
Yeah.
And then Juice Robinson can spoil Will. Well, actually, you know what? It wouldn't matter because Shingo beat Will.
Right,
so then
right. Yeah.
That would make Will and Juice meaningless. So they're not going to listen. Will Ospreay is beating Juice and winning the block. I hate to ruin it for everybody, but I mean, I guess you could let's try to make an argument for Shingo. If he beats Yujiro, they would have to have
been doing that with Shingo right now. I mean, they clearly have him kind of on the back burner a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the right time.
That was my theory at the start. But if they schedule okay, here's how you know who's going to win the block. Whichever match is scheduled to go on after the other, then either Will or Shingo is winning the block. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because, they're not going to... If the Shingo match goes after the Will match, Will will beat Juice, but then Shingo will beat Phantasmo, and Shingo will win the tiebreaker with Will. But if it's the other way around, Will has to finish with more than Shingo, so then Shingo has to lose to Phantasmo. So if they do the Shingo match first, he'll get upset. But then, no, they won't do that either because then Will... Oh, no, he still needs to win because he'll be tied with 6 with a bunch of people. Yeah, so then will still need to win to advance. That's what they're going to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
We almost, okay, I almost lost the plot on this block.
You almost stumbled a little bit, yeah, because you just won't accept the 7-way tie. You just won't accept the Rambo. You just need to accept that the only option is the chaotic 7-person tie is the only way to do this.
Yeah, that's not happening.
But probably, you're right. So then with your logic, and I think I had the same predictions that you had for Okada, obviously in the A block, I think we both agree with that, right?
Yeah.
B block, I could see either scenario. I would assume Tama Tonga, but you could do Jay White and Okada too if you really, really want to. I'd say B block is pretty open. I think that's a clean flip.
Unless they feel like in this new world we have that they need Jay White Okada to sell tickets on the side.
Right. That's it. Because Tama Tonga and Okada is not, you're not giving up a match that anyone was going to pay to see ever. So it's fine.
Right.
So if you want to do that, that's fine. Either one of those scenarios I think is fine. So the B block I think is kind of a 50-50. I lean towards Tama Tonga. It just makes a little bit more sense. But I could absolutely see Jay White doing it. So either of those are the only 2 guys that are obviously there. So it's a little bit of a cop-out. But I don't know. I can't really call it. I think I'd probably go Tonga. But I could definitely see Jay White there too. So Okada, either Jay White or Tonga. The C block, I'm with you. To me, the story has felt like Naito winning this thing. Just classic G1 booking. We kind of know the heartbeat of Gato booking, and Naito going down early and then having to kind of recover his way and get back up to the top. Just makes all the sense in the world. And it does feel like it's time. He's been away for a little while. It does feel like it's time to get Naito kind of heated up a bit. So I think winning that C block is probably a good way to do it. Do you see any other person that you would put any % chance, or are you pretty much 100% locked in on Naito?
Well, yeah, Goto needs a wacky tie scenario.
Nah, Goto, come on. Goto's out.
Tanahashi, I think, is going to get knocked off by Kenta.
Yeah.
No, I think it's
Tanahashi had a great tournament for Tanahashi, but I think the story is better told if Kenta knocks him out, so I'm fine with that. And then Zack would be the only other guy, but I think it's pretty clean to just have Naito beat Zack.
Yeah, well, Tanahashi beat Naito, Zack, and Evil. Those are good wins for him.
Yeah.
The other thing about Tanahashi is he didn't win a single match with the high fly flow. Make of that what you will.
Interesting, yeah.
And he put over Hanare, which, and I said at the time when Hanare beat him on night one, I'm like, this is Hanare's. That's it. He doesn't need to win another match. His tournament's made. He beat Tanahashi, and he didn't win another match. So, but this is classic Gato booking. He even with a 6-match G1, he
found a way to do it. Yeah, he still found a
big
way
comeback story.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think Naito in the C block, he's probably the only guy that I honestly see coming out of that C block. And then the D block, I think the only logical explanation is the 7-way tie, and then the sack races on consecutive Sundays to break it. So
maybe Yujiro just hits that pimp juice.
I was going to say he should just shoot on him. Yujiro should just shoot on Shingo and win. What are they going to do?
That match on the 13th, Yujiro Shingo.
That's a big match.
No, Yujiro can clinch it.
Yeah, I know. It's a huge match.
If he wins, the block is over.
Shingo gets distracted by Peter. He's too distracted by the booty, and Yujiro just rolls him up and wins it. I think that's totally plausible.
Because he's got the tiebreaker on Finlay, and the only other guy that can get to 8 would be Yoshihashi, and he has the tiebreaker on him. So Yujiro...
you know what? You know what? This isn't the worst. I mean, it's not going to happen, but let's go to the assumption that this is going to happen. I mean, we're talking about, so we got Okada and Tama Tonga on one block, right? Not a match that anybody, you have to pay to see or whatever. You get No Limit.
No Limit, that's right.
On the other side.
Semi-main event. Also, I blew that. Will can get to 8, and he did. But...
I mean, the big No Limit match. I mean, that's gonna sell some tickets. Not too many tickets. Not enough that you need to give away. But the return of No Limit against one another. That's I mean, it doesn't matter as much as it did in 2013. Not so
much. When they wrestled all year long,
right? But it's been a while since they've wrestled all year long. So I say let's do it. The No Limit explodes again. That's probably not gonna happen, but get crazy. Why not? It's Yujiro's time. Give him that gold watch run. Right? You know what? Have him win the whole fucking G1. Who cares?
So the 16th.
You got 2 nights now, right?
The 16th is Tuesday.
Right.
The semifinals, the
17th. Yes. So Tuesday is the last of the block play.
Yeah.
Wednesday is the semifinals. Then Thursday is the finals.
So we'll be doing a show after the final.
Correct. So we can
watch it
and review it. So it works out perfectly.
So we'll review the G1 next week. Yeah, man. I got how many shows left? 3. The 13th, 14th, and 16th.
You're not doing the semis and all that sort of stuff. So you're
No. Semis and finals we'll do here.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 more audios behind the paywall.
And then you're done. You did it. I don't know how you did it, but you did it.
It
got kind of dire there for a bit. It got real dire there for a bit, I will admit. My viewing of the G1s got real dire, and I got some texts from you being like, all right, what days can you do? You gotta help me here. But
yeah, I mean, it picked up a little lately.
Yeah, the last few days because the last week, I think it was last Thursday, we were in some real doldrums where it was like, all right, I can't. You felt like you couldn't do it anymore, and I don't blame you.
The problem is just trying to come up with things to talk about.
Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, you get 2-3 shows in a row, and they're all the same, and you're just struggling to come up with angles to discuss. But the last couple shows have picked up some. I thought the last show with Okada and Tom Lawler and Goto versus Tanahashi. Those two matches were really, really good.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Tanahashi, he's had a great tournament.
He has.
That Tanahashi guy, dare I say it, Joe, I think he is a good professional wrestler.
He's nifty in the ring.
He is nifty in the ring. He's had, honestly, the Goto match I loved. Absolutely loved it. Just hard hitting, Goto with the accidental blood just pouring out of his mouth. It looked great. I still love that Hinari match. The Tanahashi Hinari match is still one of my favorite matches this entire tournament.
Yeah,
he's great. He's a great wrestler.
He's been good. I think Ospreay Shingo's been the best match overall. I don't know what's happening over at Rich's house here.
Fucking phone doing weird shit. Anyway,
I think that Ishii versus Chase Owens was a sneaky good match on night 13. Okada Jonah was good. It's picked up lately.
I did like Okada Jonah a lot. Yeah, and it helps to have Shingo and Will. Definitely helps a lot too. So
on the 12, night 12, yeah.
I did not. I did not listen to your review of that. But I liked the match, but I think I liked every other match that they've had better.
Yeah, I went 4.5, and out of their 5 matches, it's probably my least favorite, and that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, with that being said, very good. Like let's preface it. Yeah. Like they've had some of my favorite matches ever, but I did like this one the least of all, for sure. And I'm probably 4.25, 4.5, right in that range.
Think about this: they've had 5 matches. Okay, 4 of them have been with clap crowds, and it's still one of the greatest series of matches of all time. Think about that.
Yeah, what are those fucking guys going to do when they're actually in a real?
Their only match that they had in front of a real crowd was that's the Super Junior final where they wrestled for the first time.
Right, and one match of the year.
Which was like a 5-star match. Yeah, just stupid good. Every other match they've had has been with the clap crowds. The 2 G1 matches, the New Japan Cup match, and the match for the title. And even with that gigantic handicap, you can count on one hand the number of all-time rivalries that have topped this one bell to bell, Shingo and Will Ospreay. When they got in the ring for their G1 match on night 12, within the first, 2 or 3 minutes of the match, I said to myself, oh, this is different. This is the G1, and some of the best wrestlers in the world are in this tournament. And this is just a different level of wrestling.
That was a G1 match. The bell rang and they just fucking went at it. And yeah, I'm right with you. A couple minutes in, you just went, "Oh yeah, this is different. This is better than everything else that we've seen so far this entire tournament."
Yeah, you're like, these two guys are just better than everybody else on this tour, and especially against each other. Like, this can't be touched. You can't put 2 other people together on this tour that can do what they're doing right now. Because their chemistry is incredible too. And that's the other thing about it. They effortlessly have some of the greatest matches of all time, but also some of the most difficult matches of all time, and they make it look easy.
Oh, they're insane. Yeah. They should fuck up everything, and they fuck up nothing.
Yeah. And they just do it effortlessly. I mean, they're 2 all-time greats. I think Shingo was considered an all-time great, I think, at this point, at least by fans in our sort of circle. Right, like Shingo.
Right, if you watch Dragon Gate, if you watch Dragon Gate USA, if you're familiar with some of his other work, yeah, you would already put him as.
If you're into the high work rate style, or if you're a fucking smart, I think our pal Alan has Shingo as the greatest wrestler of all time, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true. Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with that.
So he has him. So, but the thing is, I think now it's time to start talking about Will Ospreay in that same kind of discussion.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's an all-time great. I mean, I don't know how high I would put him, but this will now be 19, 20, 21, 22. It's certainly not a lock yet, but if he ends up being my overall wrestler of the year, that'll now be 4 years in a row where I thought he was the best wrestler in the world. And I don't know if there's any other wrestler historically who I thought was the best wrestler in the world for 4 years in a row. I don't know if I could say that. And look, he hasn't done it. Look, Mox, Takeshita. There's other people in this conversation this year. I don't think Ospreay's running away with
conversation. I would say he's running away with it. For me personally, he's running away with it.
Okay, so for you, he's running away with it. For me, he isn't yet. But he's definitely in the conversation, for sure. the thing about it is, I don't think his G1 has been like this blowaway G1. He really only has the one super match against Shingo. It also happens to be the best match in the tournament. I thought the ELP match was a low-level notebook match, and I don't know. I don't think I had anything else 4 stars or higher, but this is also a G1 where there isn't a lot of matches that are 4 stars or higher. So normally what I'm saying is by the G1, Will pulls away from the pack because he has 9 matches and 7 of them are great.
Right.
And this year he has 6 matches and 2 of them, well, 1 is great and 1 is excellent. I don't know where you stand on these. I'm just giving my opinion. So that's why I say he hasn't distanced himself from me. But he would probably still be my number 1 if I really look. But Mox is stalking him down. I mean, these bloodfests that this guy is having on TV every week, on top of all the other ancillary stuff that he's done. I mean, and Takeshita. I mean, we talked about him before.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, but those are my 3.
I mean, shit. I saw some people in our Discord talking about Jericho the other day, and I'm like, if you wanted to pitch me on a Jericho, I'm probably not going to vote it, but he's had a fucking great year. He's had a lot of good matches this year.
Before Cody got hurt, but he hasn't had enough for me. And I know you didn't think of him as highly as I did. So he wouldn't have been there for you. But I thought the Seth Rollins series was phenomenal, but now he's been hurt.
Right. He's probably not going to have anything else the rest of the year.
There's no one else in WWE, in my opinion, that is even worth discussing.
Freaking isn't up there for you?
No, I mean, the WWE fans are saying it should be him, but they have to hang their hat on someone, and it's always him.
Yeah,
but
every year, it's always him.
Outside of the Cody matches, I don't think much of his work at all. I mean, I mean, he hasn't been. He's a good wrestler, obviously. I just don't think. I think outside the Cody matches, Rollins hasn't really had a match where I've been blown away by his performance or the level of the match. Dragon Gate for me, there's no one. The Indies for me, Speedball, I'd throw him in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say Speedball definitely deserves some consideration.
So that's 4 guys for me that I'm considering. I'm trying to think AEW. I'd have to look at Danielson's year, but he missed a lot of time.
Yeah, he missed a lot. He could still. There's time. There's obviously a tough time for him to pick it back up, but I do think it does hurt. So
I got to look at Hangman's year and see if he has it. But see, those guys, I don't think they have enough. They peak high, but I don't know that they have enough. Anyway, I don't know. This wasn't even really a topic, but anything else on the G1, or you want to squeeze these other topics in?
I think that's it. Let's do some squeezing here. Real quick, I'll talk about Impact Wrestling, because I don't have a ton to talk about this. I wanted to end out with the Fire Fest. Or actually, you know what? Let's do Fire Fest since we're in Japan.
Yeah.
What did you see of the Fire Festival?
Watch the whole fucking show, man.
Whole tournament? No, nobody could see the whole tournament. I think
there's only one other that made tape.
I think one other show that made tape, but yeah, I didn't watch that, but I did watch the entire show of the Fire Festival finals. Joe, we are a 0-1 podcast yet again. It's so glad to do it, and this was an interesting show because this show had cheering, sort of. All right, so this show happened on July 31st. Finally made tape. Finally able to kind of figure when Samurai TV kind of made the rounds. People were able to see it, and a lot of people said, "Hey, you should check this out because there's cheering in it." And there's definitely cheering in it, and it's very, very nice to see cheering back in wrestling. But I thought this was kind of funny. I don't know if you caught this too. The fans are still kind of clapping more than they're cheering. They're still kind of stuck. They don't know how to do it just yet. Like when a big spot happens, or like obviously in the main event they did cheer a lot, but a lot of the undercard stuff, they still kind of resorted right back to the clapping, and it's going to maybe take a while for them to realize, wait, we can just make noise again. Like, why do we don't have to clap or stomp our feet. We could just yell again. So I think it's going to take a little bit longer for fans to kind of get used to that than we think. It's not going to be like just one day they said, all right, you guys can cheer, and everybody just started cheering all of a sudden one day. It's going to take a little bit, and I thought it was interesting to watch this show where it's slowly building up, where big spots were getting cheers, but a lot of the mundane stuff was still just getting claps.
They had a good crowd. I mean, they did 870 people in Korakuen, which for modern post-COVID Japan is really good.
Yeah, especially for 0-1.
Yes, exactly. So for 0-1 to do 870 people, and I got to tell you, I don't think that's much of a worked number because it looks packed.
No, it looked full. It looked. They did some shots of the entire arena, and it looked pretty damn full. Yeah, it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of empty spots, so good for them.
And this is basically one of 2 0-1 shows that we talk about. We talk about the New Year's show every year.
Yep.
And we talk about the Fire Festival final. And there's only 6 or 7 shows on tape all year, but now and then we'll do a title match. If they have a title match that gets buzz, we'll parachute in and talk about it. But generally we do these 2 shows. I got to tell you, this was a very good top to bottom show. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I liked it too. I liked the whole show. I when it was done, I was like, fuck, I wish I could watch more 0-1. I like it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's always something about 0-1 that just, I don't know, it just kind of clicks with me. Like, I don't know why, but when it's done, I'm always just like, fuck, I could watch more 0-1. I could definitely watch 0-1 all day.
You know what else I like? The television cut, 90 minutes, you're in and out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you skipped the post-match Sekimoto victory stuff, and then there was like 10 minutes of commercials after that. And if you skipped the post-match comments after each, you were in and out in like 80 minutes.
Right. I fucked up when I went to the file because I initially got to the file and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch the final, and then if I have time, I'll go watch everything else. So I skipped to with 40 minutes left in the video, and I think Sakamoto's pinning him at that time. It's because then there's I was just like, ah, damn, I knew he won anyway, but I was like, ah, crap, you know what I mean? It's just, and then I'm like, what the hell is this other 40 minutes? But it's the big promo and then a bunch of packages and stuff afterwards. But yeah, dude, if you skip some of the entrances and skip some of the post matches, you're in and out in 90 minutes. I love that. So more of that, please. Yeah. More what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 match cards. I'll take that too for sure.
Rich, if this file was 4 hours, I wouldn't have watched it.
No, it was an hour.
I didn't have time for that shit.
Yeah, so.
It was a 2-hour file, and I was like, fuck it. I'll watch it and skip everything but the action, and I'll see how it goes, and if it feels dry, I'll just skip to the main event. But I liked the whole show. I mean, the 2 opening tags were fine for what they were. I thought Chris Weiss versus Fuminari Abe ruled.
Oh, that was my hot take, because I thought you were going to hate that match. My take is, holy shit, Joe, why did this match rule as much as it ruled? It rocked. It was so good. Okay, is Chris? Was he canceled or is he not? Am I mixing him up with somebody else?
No, you're mixing him up. He's not canceled.
Okay,
you're thinking
Chris Weiss rocks. All right, great. Let me tell you about how much I like Chris Weiss.
You're thinking of the other white dude who went to Colleague.
Yeah. Oh, Dylan James, right?
Dylan James is canceled.
Whew, okay, great. So now I can tell you how much I like Chris Weiss, because Chris Weiss rocks. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I had to make sure before I went on my Chris Weiss rock. I thought this
Dylan James is accused of kidnapping a 16-year-old girl and then sexually abusing her or something. Allegedly.
Okay.
Allegedly.
Okay. All right.
He did something. He is accused of something of that nature.
Got it.
Of kidnapping a 16-year-old, and the parents did not approve of it or something. I don't know. Something with a 16-year-old.
Right.
Rich, I'm nervous now.
Yeah,
Allegedly. So, anyway. It's not Chris Weiss. So
okay, good. So Chris Weiss rocks. All right, and this match was great because it started off with a little bit of comedy, and I'm thinking, here we go, and then 2 minutes after they do some basic kind of comedy hold exchanges, then they just beat the fuck out of each other for 10 more minutes, and it fucking ruled, or 8 more minutes. I think the match went 10 minutes total. They just beat the hell out of each other for 8 minutes. A lot of great near falls, and this is when the crowd really started opening up, and maybe that credit to these guys too. Of just saying, hey, let's get this crowd just moving. Let's get this crowd. And they were starting to cheer, and kickouts would happen and the crowd would go, ah. And then little by little, they were getting more excited. And then Chris Weiss beat him, man. This crowd was up for grabs. This was a great match.
Yeah, no, this match ruled. They had shocking good chemistry together. Weiss, of course, wins because he's the heavyweight. And I didn't think Masato Tanaka, that Junya Matsunaga match, was that far behind. I thought that was dude, I love the end of it too, where Tanaka took Junya's head off, and Junya doesn't move for 5 minutes, and then they just toss an ice pack to him, and he just lays down. And then they cut backstage, and he's just laying on a bench going, holding his neck. And I was like, well, yeah, eat that sliding V. You're not getting up. Yeah, you're done, man. Yeah, he he's a young guy that they have who
he's good. He's got some good talent.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of guys in these smaller promotions, they struggle with charisma, but the work on this show, top to bottom, was very good.
I came away with that same team too. Everybody worked pretty snug, pretty stiff. Everybody looked okay for the most part. I would say the semi-main event was probably the one match I didn't really love. The guys were a little too shindy looking and didn't. But otherwise, up and down the card, I was like, all these guys have some modicum of talent. Nobody is bad. Everyone's got something, but they're just all lacking. They kind of all look the same. A lot of the guys look the same. They kind of all have similar haircuts or whatever. But their work is good. It's just a matter of like, yeah, you just need these guys to find something that makes them stand out, and too many of them don't stand out, which is, and that's why they're on, in 0-1 and not in a bigger company. But
yeah, there were some deep indie wrestlers in the semi tag.
Yeah, I thought that semi kind of stunk. Yeah, those I know why those guys are deep indie dudes. So.
And then Sakamoto versus Yoshiki Inamura from Noah was the final of the Fire Festival, and this was two meaty guys doing meaty guy things. I went notebook on it, 4 1/4. Sakamoto wins, but this was Sakamoto's a guy who I have accused of sort of being on the back end and declining, and I still believe that, but he channeled his old self here, and I thought this was a really great match.
I'm with you too. Yeah, I know Gerard, who co-host of the Emerald Flow Show on the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network, said this might be his new match of the year, and I didn't go that high, but I liked it too. I went 4 1/4.
You know what, though? I can see where he's coming from.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the crowd was going nuts, especially when you're just starving for Japanese wrestling where a crowd makes noise. These guys go out here, the bell rings, and then they're beef boys that just beef for like 20 minutes. They just slap and kick and punch the fuck out of each other for 20 minutes while a crowd finally is able to just cheer for these guys and cheer for every big spot and cheer for every kick out and cheer for every move. I got it. It was a cathartic match to watch because it was like, yes, we're back. We're maybe in, and like you said too, one thing that I liked about it is just the no bullshit type of match like this. You used to be able to see this. Japanese wrestling used to be filled with these types of matches.
Yeah.
Where when we started doing the show, I could just watch Noah or 0-1 or All Japan or a lot of times New Japan too. And just like the bell would ring and two guys would just beat the ever living shit out of each other for 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. And it was great. And it was good. Less and less of those matches happen these days in Japan. There's a lot of other things going on. The wrestler types have obviously changed and adapted and moved and whatever. So it's nice to just click this file and for 20 minutes, just two big beef boys just hitting the fuck out of each other for 20 minutes. It rocked. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, Sakamoto, Okabayashi, Yuji Hino was a guy like that.
Yeah.
And then some of them have declined lately. Like Suji Ishikawa is not the same wrestler that he was. Kohei Sato is not the same wrestler that he was. So some of these guys who used to work this style, have completely fallen off the table, like Kohei Sato and Suji Ishikawa. They're done. And then, guys like Sakamoto have shown some decline. I haven't seen a Yuji Hino match in probably a year or two.
Oh, yeah.
I think he works. Well, the problem is I think he works mostly for DDT, and I don't watch DDT. So I think that's. Okay. So I think that's the thing with him. But yeah, no, these matches used to be, it's seemingly anyway, were more prevalent in, a half a decade ago. But yeah, very enjoyable. And, Sakamoto wins. And I don't know what he's got going on in Big Japan these days. I did watch the Sakamoto Okabayashi match from a month or two ago, and they channeled their old selves for that one. But I haven't paid attention to Big Japan since the beginning of the pandemic when we were doing it every week. So, because it's just such a depressing promotion to pay attention to. So it was good to see Sakamoto kind of maybe have one of his final great matches. Who knows, But no, enjoyable show from top to bottom. And I guess we'll see 0-1 again on January 1st.
I was going to say, I'd like to see more 0-1, but I won't. So I will see them again on January 1st. Watch that show as usual. So I'd like more to make tape, but more is not going to make tape. So I'm wishing for something that's never going to happen. So, all right, two American topics to close us out here real quick. First off, Impact Wrestling is going to be in Chicago this weekend. Actually, Cicero, Cicero, Joe. You're well aware of Cicero, Illinois. Close enough to Chicago, right on the border there, right on the edge. Emergence is going to be on Friday. That is available on voicesofwrestling.com/fight if you want to watch the pay-per-view. I will be there live for that show. Your main event, Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley for the Impact World Title. Impact Knockouts World Title match, Jordan Grace versus Mia Yim. X Division Championship match. It's going to be either So this may have happened as we're recording the show, so I apologize. I haven't seen it, but Trey Miguel or Rocky Romero will face Jack Evans, whoever wins the X Division title. Or I think that match is happening on Impact as we're recording this, so I don't know. The big Honor No More versus Bullet Club match. Steve Macklin versus Sami Callihan. Bandito versus Rey Horus. Violent by Design versus Chris Sabin and Kushida. And then Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary versus VXT on the pre-show. But that's a pretty fun card. I'm looking forward to that. Bandito, Rey Horus sounds great. Honor No More versus Bullet Club. I think that's been a really, really cool story, so I'm into that. And then Alexander and Alex Shelley sounds fucking great to me. So I'm excited to check out that show.
Oh, well, you'll have to talk about it next week.
I will. I might do a written review on the on Flagship as well. We'll see. Either I'll wait till do the Flagship review of the Flagship on the next week's show, or possibly a written review. We'll see what ends up happening with that one. They're also doing a Second City Slam on Saturday. I believe that is a mostly television taping, but 6-way elimination match: Rich Swann, Sammy Callahan, Moose, Eddie Edwards, Steve Macklin, Bandito, Rey Horus, Black Taurus, Laredo Kid, Trey Miguel in a 4-way match. VXT versus Jordan Grace and Mia Yim. Mike Bennett versus Carl Anderson, Killer Kelly versus Savannah Evans, Kenny King versus Heath, and the Motor City Time Splitters, Kushida and the Motor City Machine Guns versus Violent by Design. So that looks like a pretty fun weekend for Impact Wrestling shows. But real excited to check out that Emergence show, which again will be available on Fight, voiceswrestling.com/fight, if you are going to order that show. So then we will conclude with NWA, Joe. We are always an NWA podcast. Sometimes we're a 0-1 podcast. Sometimes we're a Big Japan podcast. We are always an NWA podcast. And there's some juicy quotes from our boy at Billy. He did an interview at Fightful Select. Transcription I got from 411 Mania. Here it says, Billy Corbin on why another Empowerrr show is unlikely. So NWA Empowerrr obviously bookended the NWA 73rd anniversary show. It was the all-women's show they did last year. Here's what Billy had to say about that. Quote, I love that stuff. Unfortunately, not everybody loved it as much. I get it. Mm-hmm. It's a business. Always about leverage, whether it's a talent, whether it's a company, and people like to throw their elbows around depending on what's happening. That's totally fine. That part doesn't bother me. I just am not in a position of going and begging, and certainly there have been times in the past couple of years where people put me in a position of begging. Juicy.
So a couple takeaways there. The question was, why aren't you doing the all-women's Empowerrr show? And he says, I love it, but a lot of people don't love it as much. That certainly implies that they weren't thrilled with the business that it did last year.
Yeah.
I have more on that, but we're going to finish the quotes first. The second part of that is he feels like he's been bullied in some business situations in regards to that show last year. And I guess the next quote
I was going to say,
clarifies
if you're questioning who he's talking about, I think you're gonna be able to figure it out here.
Listen in
with this next quote. So Billy Corgan on working with other wrestling promotions, not wanting to throw his weight around. Quote, I'm going to try to say this without sounding like I'm cutting a promo, but when I'm the most famous person in the room, it's a little of funny that I'm supposed to grovel. I don't like that because I'm not a person who throws my weight around. I don't necessarily need people to throw their weight around with me. I'd like to think of us as partners in a particular moment until we find a good partnership. So when I feel that people have been good partners, like Scott D'Amore, who's been a good partner recently, I love it. I'm more than happy to bend over backwards to try to get Scott what he would need from our end of the street, and hopefully he can do the same. Unfortunately, that's not always been the case with everybody, and that's totally fine. Again, I don't have a problem with adversity, but it does get a little weird sometimes when it's just a who got the bigger dog on the block type stuff. I just don't see the business that way. I think ultimately you want to make the best show for the fans.
So he references at the end who has the bigger dog on the block, doesn't mention the person by name who he's had problems with. Now, if you've paid attention to anything Tony Khan has had to say, he has not been shy about saying that he, took on some of the financial responsibility for the Empowerrr show. He's flat out said that show wouldn't have happened without him.
Right,
That's, he has said that.
Stopped a press conference or stopped I think it was a post show, right? Or was it a post show? No, it was one of those pre-show scrums, right?
Yeah, it was a media call before a show and somebody questioned the women's booking again. And he went on this big rant, and part of the rant was, that Empowerrr show NWA did wouldn't even have happened without me.
I'm the one who did it, yeah.
Put the bill and all this other, paid for some of the talent, because a lot of his talent worked that show. So he has said directly that he has took on some of the financial, that show wouldn't happen without his financial backing or him paying his own talent, whatever he meant by that. And it's very clear that Corrigan is referring to Tony Khan.
Yes, if you want to read between the lines there, Tony Khan is that he's saying when I have good partners, like Scott D'Amore, as he points out, like Scott D'Amore. Yeah. Scott's good. Scott's great. I love Scott. Scott's great. Doesn't mention the other names. Yeah, he's talking about Tony Khan there. So
he's saying that Khan throws his weight around in the negotiations because AEW has the high ground. Right. They're the bigger dog.
And Billy brings up a great point that, I'm the most famous person in the room. It's like,
it's hard for me to get bossed. Right. Yeah,
right. He's like, I'm fucking Billy Corgan. Like, you're not going to boss me around, man. I mean, and maybe he did that one time, but it does sound like Billy not in a position to be bossed around another time. So
that's also such a Corgan ego quote.
Right.
I'm the most famous guy in the room.
Yeah, I'm going to try to say this without sounding like I'm cutting a promo, but when I'm the most famous person in the room, it's a little funny.
You don't see me bullying people, even though I'm super famous and I'm Billy Corgan. Like, that's such a Corgan thing to say.
It's such a Corgan
This is
thing.
just pro wrestling, man.
Now he's a pro wrestling promoter, so of course he'd you know.
But what's coming out of this is obviously the women's wrestling crowd is upset because there's not going to be an Empowerrr show. But straight up, the guy said that he said it wasn't support. What was the first part of the first
I love that
again?
stuff. Unfortunately, not everybody loved it as much. I get it.
Yeah,
it's a business, always about leverage, whether it's a talent, whether it's a company, whether it's...
And it gets into the other stuff.
Right.
But what he's saying is people didn't support the show.
Right.
And it was reported at the time by the Observer that the show did 3,500 pay-per-view buys. Okay? So I did a little work today and did some math. That's roughly, so if you do, and people can do this with me, if you do 3,500 pay-per-view buys, and I believe the show was $25, that's $87,500. Let's do a 50% split, right? So that's usually the standard, right? So $87,500 divided by 2. This is all back of the envelope math, but that gives us $43,750. So let's work with a $44,000 gross on the pay-per-view. Okay. Sounds like a lot, right, Rich? $44,000 on the gross.
Pretty good.
Here's the thing.
Not bad, right?
But I looked at the Empowerrr show, which you remember was a back-to-back. It was actually a triple header. It was Empowerrr, it was the anniversary pay-per-view, and then it was a television taping.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the Empowerrr show used 23 wrestlers that weren't used on the anniversary show. So in other words, in order to do the Empowerrr pay-per-view, you have to book women's talent. NWA doesn't have a roster of 50 women. Okay, so they had to bring in 23 distinct talents that did not work the anniversary show the next night. There were 8 or 9 other people who worked both shows, but those are NWA wrestlers. So we're not going to count them because you're booking them either way. Okay, so throw them out. But for the 23 women that had to be booked to book the Empowerrr show, let's estimate on the low end that it's going to cost you $1,000 per woman when you consider airfare, any other kind of trans, putting them up in a hotel.
Hotel trans.
And then, oh, by the way, you have to pay them to perform. Okay? I think $1,000 is a low estimate. You had international wrestling. You had Chick Tormenta come in from Mexico. You had, you guys can go look at the card. But let's just, for the sake of the math, say it's going to cost you $1,000 for each of the 23 women that you're booking to put together this show. That's $23,000 on the low end. So you take the $44,000 gross, you subtract the $23,000, and we're left with $21,000. Okay, so far that's our net. Again, Rich, probably sounds good, right? Probably sounds like a nice chunk of change to bring in $21,000. Not so fast. You think Mickie James put this show together and produced it and booked it for free?
Out of the kindness of her heart, I'm sure.
Okay, so you got to pay Mickie James.
Yep.
You got to put her in a hotel. You got whatever. Okay. Do you think that Gail Kim, Jazz, Medusa, and Lufisto, who Mickie James brought in to help produce the show, worked for free?
Probably not.
Did they need hotel rooms?
Probably.
Did they need trans?
Probably.
Did 2 of those women appear on camera and probably wanted to be paid as performers?
Of course.
So, so now our $21,000, which we estimated low on the cost of the 23 talents that you have to bring in to run this show, now we have 5 high-priced people, because I'm sure they didn't work cheap either. Okay? I don't know. But again, let's keep the estimate low. Let's say you were able to get each of those 5 women, including Mickie James, who put the show together, for $1,000 each, which is preposterous when you consider the airfare alone was probably $1,000 for each of these people. But let's just say that you can get all 5 of them for $1,000 each, including airfare and hotel. Now that's $5,000 more off of your net. Now we're down to $16,000. The show used all-female referees to complete the gimmick. You have to pay those people. You have to fly them in. You have to give them airfare, hotel rooms, and everything else. So very quickly, and these were low estimates, Rich, it's very easy to see. Let's take off for the referees. Let's just take off $1,000 total for the refs. Now we're down to $15,000. And in reality, we know it's way less than that because there's no way that you got Gail Kim, Jazz, Medusa, Lufisto, and Mickie James to work this show for $1,000 each, including trans and hotel. Okay? So realistically, but again, I'm giving every single benefit of the doubt, and we're down to $15,000. Okay? This year, so hold that number in your head. $15,000. Let's say Billy made $15,000 on this show.
Big old
and
15K
we know he didn't because we know that Tony Khan paid for his own wrestlers because Billy couldn't afford to put the show on. But forget all that. Billy made $15,000 in this fantasy world that we're participating in here. Okay? Now, this year, instead of doing an Empowerrr show, he's doing back-to-back anniversary shows. All right? Why? Because it's going to be his crew on both shows. You don't have to pay for 23 more plane tickets. You don't have to pay for 23 more hotel rooms. You don't have to pay 23 more people to work. He's got a lot of these people under contract, first of all, and they just work the shows because it's part of their deals. The others are working per date, but you're getting the same people to work both shows. It's much cheaper than bringing in a whole new crew of 23,000 people. Now, let's just say that Empowerrr was the 3,500 buys was an incredible number, and you're probably, but Joe, that second anniversary show isn't going to do 3,500 buys. Well, how many do you think it'll do? What's a fair number, Rich? Is 1,500 a fair number if Empowerrr did 3,500? You tell me what a fair number is.
Yeah.
Tell me what 1,000? What do you want me to do? So let's say that you think the second anniversary show, let's split the difference between 1,000 and 15. Let's say 1,250 times $25. That's a $31,250 gross. Divided by 2, it's $15,625. The same amount of money that we're pretending they made on Empowerrr, but we know they didn't make anything on Empowerrr. So can people now understand why they're not doing Empowerrr again? They could just do 2 anniversary shows with the existing crew, even if it does half the pay-per-view buys, and make the same amount of money. More money, realistically, because I was being generous on the Empowerrr estimates, and we know that show didn't make money because Tony Khan had to pay for half of it.
Yeah, Tony Khan said he had to pay half of it, and Billy just told you it didn't make money.
So when you see these people out there tweeting that Billy Corgan doesn't care about women's wrestling and nobody gives women's wrestling a fair shot, here's what you need to tweet back. Next time, buy the fucking pay-per-view. Because if people would have supported it last year,
and as you estimated right there, it wouldn't take that many more to get them in a good spot. Another 5,000 to 10,000 buys. It's pretty damn good. That's a lot of money coming your way. So
even if they just doubled and did 7,000 buys, they probably could have broken even on it.
Right.
But let's be realistic here. We know they didn't make $15,000. I was being generous. But I know they can make 15,000. If they sell 1,000 of their, they sell 1,000. And here's the other thing: those 35. Okay, now here's some mitigating factors too. On those 3,500 pay-per-view buys, Rich, how many of those were part of the bundle for both shows?
Right.
That cuts into the gross too. But again, I was giving every benefit of the doubt when I sat down and did this math. Okay. I didn't account for any bundle buys, and there were bundle buys. Give me a break. There was probably a ton of bundle. Half of those buys were probably bundle buys, right? I didn't account for extremely low estimates to get those 23 people flown in, put up in hotels and booked. I think 1,000's cheap. I didn't account for. I accounted way low for Mickie James and the 4 producers she brought in, and Gail Kim and Medusa appeared on camera. All right, so I accounted low for that. I didn't get, the referees, who knows? So, and just by Tony Khan telling you that the show wouldn't happen without him tells you that they knew it was a money loser. So, but even giving very charitable estimates, it's much more advantageous from a business perspective to just run 2 shows with his own crew. From a money standpoint, I just did the math. Okay? You want to call me sexist or fucking, say that I'm just, but listen, I just did the math. The numbers don't lie, as Scott Steiner once said. Okay? That's why they're not doing Empowerrr again. And I have something, and it's the same reason WWE didn't do their all-women's pay-per-view again.
That's weird how that never came back.
And it's the same reason why Impact did a couple of them on fucking, those weird Joker's Wild, those little mini, and then never did it on a mainstream. These militant women's wrestling fans buy the fucking shows. If you want
your
more
friends,
to happen.
Everybody buy the shows. Everybody tell their friends, and then maybe they will exist. But yeah, they're not going to exist if they don't make money. At the end of the day, it's a business that, yes, it's Billy Corgan, and he's got a lot of money, but he doesn't want to do this thing just to lose money. That's not the goal. Tony Khan has a lot of money, but he's not doing this thing to lose money. The people want to make money, and booking wrestling is hard. It is very difficult, as we're finding out. It's for some people think they could book wrestling and think they could just, one day just go out there and book a wrestling show. Not that easy. A lot of stuff goes into it. A lot of payments go into it. You're going to probably lose a lot of money unless you're very, very careful and very, very smart about what you're doing. And for these guys, clearly it's not worth losing money for. There's a lot of work that has to go into this thing to break almost even or break close to even or maybe even go in the red. Just not worth it. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks because it was a cool show and I liked what they did about it. But as he said right there, I love that stuff. Unfortunately, not everybody loved it as much. It's a business.
We positively reviewed it. We thought it was better than the anniversary show. It was better than the mixed gender show.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, certainly.
I mean, we've got that on tape. But, even if it did make the 15,000, they could make that 15,000 and then some on less buys if they just use their own crew. It's a no-brainer to just use your own crew 2 nights in a row instead of doing that again. And here's the other thing. It would do less buys this year because it wouldn't be the novelty that it was the year before. That's the other thing, too. So you can get on Corgan's case and, it's not your money. I mean, I sat down. Exactly. I mean, I sat down and did the math with an open mind. I'm like, all right, let's see. And it became very obvious. Oh, this shit didn't make a dime. Even though Tony Khan told us it didn't. I mean, and who knows what Khan is spinning in his. There's obviously a fractured relationship there. They haven't worked together in a while, and maybe Khan's putting his own little spin. But I don't think Tony Khan stood there and lied to the media when he said he had to pay the wrestlers. And I assume he meant his own. But who knows? Maybe
maybe Billy said, "Hey, I need X to even get." Who knows? It's hard to say.
I haven't asked anyone or anything. I just sat down and did the old back of the envelope math. I hate that phrase, but
terrible phrase, awful phrase. But
I mean, So anyway, that's kind of the deal there. And when you look at it from that standpoint, they gave it a go and it just didn't make any money. What are you going to do? But so back to back. Now we'll preview that. I think.
I can't believe that's coming up already. I feel that show does not feel like it was a year ago, but it was a year ago. Yeah, NWA 74th coming up end of August. I want to say, what's the exact date? I think we have one more week until August 27th is when that show is. So we got a week to wait. So
yeah, we'll talk about it next week, and then or maybe even the week after.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could do it the week after for sure.
Yeah, the preview, and then.
Oh, I scrolled down and I saw Bully Ray versus Mike Knox. Oh, man.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Whew,
yeah.
God. My heart stops. Oh, good God.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't. Well, no, we have to. It's NWA. We have to.
Believe me, I wish they were doing Empowerrr again. Believe me. But
Jesus Christ, I would take anything.
Hey, but you know what? Don't blame me. I bought it.
I bought it too. You can look at my fight receipts. I bought that shit.
I'm a fucking season pass subscriber.
Yeah,
don't blame me.
You bought everything NWA. Yeah.
So it ain't my fault. But anyway, that's why they're not doing Empowerrr. Yeah, there's some facts and figures for people.
Yeah, face the facts, as Brian Myers would say. Yeah, a lot of people sit on Twitter and share gifts and share likes and stuff, but that doesn't put money in people's pockets. So you got to buy these shows, got to buy this stuff if you want these things to survive. So there you go. And that has been the Flagship, which, by the way, flagshippatreon.com. Put some money in our pockets if you can. Flagshippatreon.com. $5, $10 tiers. All right, Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Make sure you subscribe to that as well. I've started to put links in all of these podcasts so you are aware of where to subscribe to these, the Flagship Feed and the VOW Podcast Network feed. On every major podcast app, I have links now in the show notes. Also, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. Make sure you subscribe, both the Flagship Feed and the Voice of Wrestling Network feed, because there's great stuff on the Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network feed. And, of course, you love the Flagship because you listen to this right now. And tell your friends, by the way, and review, and do all the other good stuff. Let more people listen to the Flagship. That'd be good for us. Joe wants to get up on those rankings, and God damn it, I want to too. So let's get on those rankings, get better so that our enemies can lose yet again. So that is it for us. That is Joe. I'm Rich. We will talk to you next time on the Flagship Podcast. Take care.